Welcome to Fantasy Audiobook. I, Blackbeard, start by asking for dark fruit. Chapter 51. A. Sky Island. Hearing Blackbeard's sudden words, the entire Black group members were completely confused and suddenly exclaimed. Carmen raised her head. Teach, are you serious? Badgers held his head. Stop joking, Captain. Nami. That's right, aren't things like Sky Island only found in storybooks? Fan Oka. Fortunately, we didn't go to the tavern to ask for information, otherwise we would have been laughed to death. Bartolomeo. No, why do I feel that the name Mont Blanc Rolando is familiar to me? Robin. Ha ha ha, of course it sounds familiar. He was the great adventurer 400 years ago. But later he was called a liar. All the lies about adventure were made up by him. Such as Golden Township or something. Quote, Poison Q. I see. By the way, is there really such a thing as Sky Island? Bartolomeo. Captain Teach said there is Sky Island, then there is Sky Island. While everyone in the Black group exclaimed, the Mont Blanc coolie guide on the opposite side also reacted at this time. Do these people actually want to go to Sky Island? With this thought, a smile appeared on Guy's lips. What an idiot, do you really believe that there is such a thing as Sky Island? But what really makes me curious is, sir, you said you could help me prove my ancestors. Is this related to the Sky Island you mentioned? Bang! Blackbeard jumped directly from the bow of the ship to Coolie Guide and said with a smile. Do you still need to ask me about this kind of thing, Mr. Coolie Guide? For those of you who keep diving here to hunt for treasures, you should actually have some preparations in mind, right? Where did the remaining half of Gaia Island go? Since it didn't sink into the deep sea, did it fly into the sky? But how did it fly into the sky? You must have paid a lot of attention to the strange rising currents in the nearby waters in recent years, right? You Guy. Coolie, 790. Guy was so shocked by Blackbeard's words that his eyes suddenly widened. Nami and the others also heard some signs at this time. It turns out that this chestnut-headed uncle is actually a descendant of the former Mont Blanc Rolando. In fact, they still trust their captain's words very much. After all, Blackbeard has been a very reliable person from the beginning until now. And he also acts very purposefully. Now that I have given them such a big surprise and said they are going to Sky Island, it seems not impossible. Especially now that Rolando's descendants have been accurately found. And this descendant seems to be proving his ancestors all the time. Thinking about this kind of thing is still very passionate. How's it going? Am I right? Blackbeard grinned and said. Judging from the information I collected in the waters near Magic Valley Town, whether it's the giant figure that occasionally appears in the fog, or the rising currents, or the gold you collected. This all proves one thing. The Golden Land did indeed exist. The other half of Gaia Island that disappeared was probably washed up into the sky by rising sea currents. This can actually be seen very clearly in the sky. Guide all things. As he spoke, Blackbeard soared into the sky with the shocked Coolie Guy. Nani. When Coolie Guy was shocked, Blackbeard took him directly to a height of several hundred meters, and then pointed down. Coolie Guy also calmed down after the shock. Looking at the half of the island that disappeared below him, there was light in his eyes, and he immediately laughed and said. Ha ha ha, maybe everything is really like, I don't know what to call you yet. Marshall D. Teach. You can call me Blackbeard, or you can call me Teach. Blackbeard grinned. That pirate supernova Teach with a bounty of 250 million belly. Coolie Guide exclaimed. Yes, Blackbeard didn't hide it either. Then he returned to the ground with Coolie Guide. Coolie Guy laughed and said. I didn't expect that a guy like you would believe in the existence of Sky Island and collect so much information. You were really a persistent guy. Thief ha 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 ha. Blackbeard sat directly on the ground and laughed. One's dreams never end, don't they, Mr. Coolie Guide? Everyone in the Black group and Coolie Guy were shocked when they heard this, and then their eyes towards Blackbeard became brighter. A man's dream never ends. Ha 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 ha. Since you are so courageous, Mr. Teach, what if I help you just once? Coolie Guide also laughed heartily. After that, he immediately contacted his two brothers, the Mountain Ape Alliance, who had been salvaging in the nearby waters. The two brothers rushed back at full speed after receiving a call from their boss, Coolie Guide. When they learned that Blackbeard and his party were going to Sky Island, these people were also very shocked. Then at Coolie Guide's urging, they began to modify the ship. After all, if you want to go to Sky Island, the latest upwelling current is approaching and will arrive in 5 days. As the Sabaru is considered a large ship, the renovation task time is still relatively tight. However, with the participation of everyone in the Black Group, the transformation speed has been accelerated. After all, the strength of everyone in the Black Group is obvious to all, and all kinds of heavy work can be left to them. Blackbeard's abilities are even more effortless and convenient. In this way, 5 days flew by. The Blackbeard Sabaru has also been completely renovated. Not only are the sides of the ship equipped with wings, but a tail fin to guide the wind is also added to the stern. It can be said that the Sabaru at this time has a sense of déjà vu as a sky battleship. After the transformation was completed, Coolie Guide led the Mountain Ape Alliance to guide the Black Group towards the darkened sea ahead. After more than an hour, the 3 ships finally arrived at the sea under the black sky. At this time, it was already overcast here, and it looked like it was going to rain heavily. The sea also became extremely rough. There is only one place that seems extremely mysterious, and that is the place in the middle of the large Uzumaki on the sea in front. Only the circular sea surface with a diameter of several hundred meters was still calm. That's the place. The more dangerous thing now is to get the ship close to the center of the rising current, which is close to the huge Uzumaki. Bo Coolie Guide pointed at the Uzumaki center ahead and shouted. These are minor issues. Blackbeard waved his hand and shouted. I said, do you 3 want to go to Sky Island with us to see 10 views? I can tell you clearly that Sky Island does exist. The golden bell your ancestors heard about does exist. Why don't you go and take a look? Masla and Orangutan, where are you 2? With my ability, at least ensuring everyone's safety is no problem. After hearing Blackbeard's words, both of them looked at Coo and Guide with hopeful eyes. Hiss. Coolie Guy took a gulp of the cigarette in his mouth, blew out a smoke ring and grinned. Good. Then take a look. No matter what, this has also been my dream for many years. If that golden land is really washed up into the sky, it can be completely proved to my ancestors. He is a great man. After saying that, Coolie Guy jumped directly to the captain of the Black Group. After Masla and the orangutan gave instructions to their younger brothers, they also jumped on the Sabaru. Seeing this, Blackbeard grinned and said, everyone, sit still, we will fly directly to the center of thousands of ocean currents. Guide all things. Wow. As Blackbeard's ability was activated, the entire Sabaru flew into the air amidst the exclamations of everyone in the Mountain Saru Alliance and flew directly towards the calm sea area in the center of Uzumaki. Standing on the boat, you can still see that many sea kings among the large Uzumaki below were swallowed up instantly. From here you can see how terrifying this Uzumaki is. Bang! However, a few minutes later, the Sabaru landed safely in the center of the rising current. Seeing this, Coolie Guy couldn't help but sigh. Teach, your ability is really convenient. Who says it isn't? Blackbeard smiled proudly, then turned to look at Nami and said. Nami, what's going on now? Standing on the observation basin, Nami felt the wind and sea currents around her. Staring at the unusually calm sea below, her expression suddenly changed and she shouted. Everyone, hold on tight, don't get thrown down, the rising tide is coming. So fast. Everyone in the Black Group was shocked, but they immediately started to implement what Nami said, and everyone grabbed the railing. Rumble. Just a few seconds later, the entire Sabaru rose directly into the sky with a slight vibration. Oh. Seeing this scene, the people in the Black Group lying on the side of the ship exclaimed excitedly. Bartolomeo. Hey ha, it's taking off, it's really taking off. Fanoka. I hope everyone is okay. Robin. Haha, it's hard to say. It's possible that the ship will fall directly from a height of 10,000 meters and smash us to pieces. Nami. No, Robin-chan, what you said is too scary. Badgers. Ha, it's so exciting. Crow. Hey, aren't you a little too messy? Poison Q. God bless. Zhuangzhuang. YLVLV. As for Masla and the orangutan, Guy was already holding Coolie and wouldn't let go, and kept screaming. Coolie Guy is okay. Blackbeard took him up to a height of 100 meters in one breath, which makes him feel a lot better now. But even so, his face was still a little pale. Thief ha. Blackbeard stood on the bow of the ship, looking up at the sky that had been carved out by the rising sea currents, with anticipation in his heart. Wow! At this moment, the Saberoo, which was originally following the rising current and rushing into the sky, suddenly tilted and was about to fall back. Ah! This made everyone on the boat exclaim. Nami was calm at this time and shouted at Badgers and the others. Yang Fan, Doctor immediately. Everyone was a little surprised when they heard this. Wouldn't the sailboat fall faster now that it is closed? With rising currents, we can only use the power of sails to give the ship a stronger lift. Coupled with the weight of our big ship, the modified wings and tail can maintain balance very well. Just in time, now the rising wind will take us higher into the sky. Nami calmly explained to everyone. When Nami explained, everyone started to take action. After all, Nami's mastery of sailing these days has been recognized by everyone. Hoo. As the sails were retracted, the Saberoo, which had originally tilted backwards, actually broke away from the rising current. Amidst everyone's exclamations, it seemed as if an invisible big hand was pushing them upward. Oh! Everyone on the boat immediately exclaimed when they saw this scene. Nami looked at the permanent pointer on her wrist, then put her hand on the awning and looked out and shouted again. Everyone, the ship is about to start accelerating. If there is really a sky island above, then we should rush to an altitude of 10,000 meters in one breath. Everyone, you must hold on tight and don't fall off halfway. Otherwise, it will really fall to pieces. Quote, The crowd screamed again. Nami smiled confidently. Who is the navigator on this ship? Everyone laughed and shouted in unison. It's Nami. Then just believe me and just hold on tight. Nami raised her hand to brush away her long orange hair, with a confident smile on her pretty face. After everyone heard this, they also clung to the hull of the ship again. Woo. Sure enough, within a few seconds, the entire ship completely broke away from the rising current. Coupled with the modified side wings and tail fins, the Saberoo can directly soar into the sky. It's really for flushing. The strong wind blew everyone's eyes open. They now understand why Nami told them to hurry up. Looking at the sky getting closer and closer, everyone has a feeling of excitement. They are really going to take to the sky. Everyone in the Mountain Ape Alliance army above the distant sea cheered when they saw this scene. Boss, they really flew into the sky. Ha, we succeeded. Sora, there may really be a sky island. Hurry up and take pictures. This will definitely sell a big piece of news and make a lot of money. Puff. Just as the Oryx Alliance army was celebrating and taking photos below, the Saberoo also completely shot into the clouds. Immediately afterwards, everyone felt a sense of suffocation, and the feeling like being in water was particularly obvious. It's just different from the bottom of the sea, there is basically no pressure. However, this still has some effects on demon fruit power. Blackbeard, Crow, Bartolomeo, Poison Q, and Zhuang all appeared unwell. But fortunately, they didn't feel particularly weak like when they were locked in seastone handcuffs. This is also due to the fact that Blackbeard makes them wear seastone handcuffs during daily practice, which greatly enhances their resistance. After this suffocating feeling lasted for more than a minute, I suddenly became enlightened. Wow! Boom! In the next moment, everyone suddenly felt their eyes light up, and a feeling of weightlessness came, followed by the sound of the Saberoo crashing down heavily. Open your eyes and take a look. There is a vast sea of white clouds in front of you, and golden sunlight is shining above your head. The ship was parked quietly on the sea of clouds at this time. Seeing this scene, everyone immediately held their breath and stared with wide eyes. Sky Island has really arrived. Even as calm as Robin, he couldn't help but raise his hand to cover his mouth, widened his beautiful eyes and murmured. The Sky Island that my mother and Dr. Clover once talked about turned out to really exist. It's so beautiful. Thief ha. At this moment, Blackbeard's hearty laughter sounded. We haven't reached Sky Island yet. Sky Island is still above our heads. First we have to go up through the cloud road. Only then did everyone wake up from the shock. Mr. Teach, you seem to know Sky Island very well. Have you been here before? Robin was surprised to see the curiosity in her beautiful eyes. Others were thoughtful when they heard the words. Blackbeard laughed. Don't forget that I am the captain of the 0 Division of the Whitebeard Pirates. When we had a banquet with Roger, I heard that guy bragging. Hiss. Everyone gasped in the thin air of Sky Island. Have a party with Roger, the Pirate King. Although he knew that his captain was not a simple man, he never expected that the other party had seen such a legendary pirate. Oh, he's from the Whitebeard Pirates, so that's okay. The legendary pirate, Whitebeard, isn't he too? He's still alive. However, everyone still sighed at this. At this moment, Badger's eyes flashed red and he said in surprise. Huh, Captain, someone is coming, so fast. Well, I noticed it. Blackbeard laughed. It just so happened that we needed a friend to lead the way, so we decided it was him. Universal pull. What? Call out. Snapped. In the distance above the sea of clouds, a guy on skateboards who was approaching quickly was directly pulled over by Blackbeard's ability. As a result, he was caught in Blackbeard's hand before he even had time to react. But this guy is not a pushover either. Being grabbed by Blackbeard's neck, he still wanted to resist. He put his palms together and aimed at Blackbeard's face, intending to hit him with a volley. Planning. Aha, it's just that Blackbeard is not like Luffy or the others. His strong physique allowed him to overcome Sky Island's high reflexes when he first came up. Therefore, when he saw that the other party wanted to resist, he grabbed his neck and slammed him to the ground. Boom! The Saburu's hull was shaken violently, and the box plate shattered into a dent. The warrior dressed as a Sandian was embedded in the deck with blood bleeding from the corner of his mouth. The cannon barrel and shield in his hand also fell to the side, obviously shaken by the blow. Blackbeard directly took off his mask, and immediately he saw the somewhat familiar face under the mask. As a hardcore ocean fan for 20 years in my previous life, I naturally watched the Sky Island chapter many times. He still recognized Webber's face at a glance. This guy is quite diligent. Whenever someone comes to Sky Island, he will work tirelessly to cause trouble. A Sandian, right? What's your name? Forget it, I can't even tell you looking like this. When Blackbeard saw Webber's stinky face, he knew that this guy was suffocated by Enel's beating, so he didn't bother to warm his face against his cold butt. Guy just casually raised his hand and pointed at the curious coolie beside him and said, "This guy's name is Mont Blanc Coolie Gite. As a Sandian, you should understand the meaning of this surname, right? Their family has been looking for you in order to prove their ancestors." What? Mont Blanc? Webber, who was still like a dead dog, suddenly ejected from the deck as if he was having a flashback, staring at Coolie Gite in disbelief. His eyes were already bloodshot. Coolie Gite was also taken aback by Webber's actions. Masla and the orangutan immediately protected him and looked at Webber warily and shouted, "What do you want to do? No need to be nervous." Blackbeard waved his hand and said, "The Sandians have also been waiting for your eldest brother. No, it should be said that the 11 people behind Rolando have been waiting for more than 400 years. Whoosh! Webber turned to look at Blackbeard in astonishment, his eyes full of disbelief. He couldn't understand how these Sky Island people who had just come up from below knew so clearly about the friendship between Sandia and Rolando. But then he thought of the Rolando descendants brought by the other party, and it seemed that he could understand it again. Boom! Just when Coolie Guy was also in shock, Weibai said in a deep voice, "Are you really the descendant of Rolando's great benefactor? We Sandians have never forgotten Lord Rolando's friendship for a moment. It's just that we didn't expect that our Shantora would be washed up on Sky Island, making it impossible to fulfill the agreement with Mr. Rolando. Even the Golden Bell has been lost, I'm really sorry." Coolie Guy's lips trembled, and his body was also trembling. There was sparkle in his eyes, and he smiled happily. "There is no need to blame yourself. I think my ancestors would be happy to have a group of friends like you who keep their promises and keep their word." After that, the two began to sit on the deck and talk about old times. Blackbeard is not in a hurry now, but sits and listens with interest. At the same time, it also gave other members of the Black group a breath of relief. After all, the physical fitness of the other members of the Black group is not as good as that of Blackbeard, and it is impossible for them to adapt to high reflection at once. It just so happens that I'm slowing down here right now. Webber, a guy who looked like a devil, cried like a child after hearing that Rolando died unjustly and was ridiculed as the great liar Rolando. "Keep saying it's their fault." Coolie Gite was another comfort. "Maybe this is the charm brought by Shinyi. Blackbeard couldn't help but sigh. In his previous life, he regretted that Uncle Chestnuthead could not board Sky Island with Luffy and the others. At least it can be regarded as a different kind of dream fulfillment for yourself, to make up for your regrets. Just as he was thinking about this, Blackbeard was shocked to find that his knowledge had quietly broken through. Moreover, the traveler's clock seems to have changed. Putting aside the surprise of the breakthrough, Blackbeard immediately immersed himself in the space of traveler's clock. I saw that the hour hand that had accumulated to the V scale actually moved forward by 1 scale, and now it had reached the V scale. You know, because he was in a hurry to go to Sky Island, Blackbeard hadn't figured out where to use the scale this time, so he saved it for the time being. I originally thought about using it after going to Sky Island, but I didn't expect that the scale that originally stopped moved forward by 1 scale. Could it be that the accumulated ticks of Traveler's clock changed from 1 to 2? Wrong. The seconds haven't stopped spinning yet, which means they can continue to accumulate. Blackbeard was really surprised this time. He originally felt uncomfortable because he couldn't accumulate points. Especially if he had tried to awaken Dark Fruit before, it would have taken at least 3 levels. But if the Traveler's clock could not accumulate scale, he had no way to awaken Dark Fruit immediately. At that time, he thought he could only develop it slowly in the future. He still has the confidence to develop Dark Fruit to its awakening, it is just a matter of time. But the disappearance of Ace gave him a sense of world closure and gave him a sense of urgency. Because the Summit War is likely to happen again. Therefore, Blackbeard still aims to improve his strength as soon as possible. Now that the Traveler's clock scale has changed, it is undoubtedly good news for him. Maybe the awakening of his Dark Fruit ability is really possible on Sky Island. With these thoughts in his mind, he turned to look at Weber and Guy Cooley, who were already reminiscing about old times. After hearing that Webster wanted to invite Guy Cooley to their current residence of the Sandians, he raised his hand. He made a stop movement and said, "I have no objection to inviting Cooley Guy, but I have a suggestion. If you want to hold a banquet, you can choose to hold it in Shangri-La, the Golden Country. At the same time, you can also bathe in the sound of the Golden Bell. Wouldn't that be more atmospheric?" Cooley, Guy and others all looked at Weber excitedly when they heard this. Nami's eyes had transformed into Bailey's. She clasped her hands together and looked at Weber with hope. Is there really a golden land? The kind where the ground is full of gold? Robin also turned to look at Weber with great curiosity. Weber's face looked a little ugly, then he sighed and said very seriously, "Shandora, we can't go back for the time being. As I said before, shortly after Gaia Island was washed up by rising sea currents, we had a war with the Sky Island Aborigines here. The main reason is that Sky Island lacks land, so land resources are very valuable in Sky Island. Therefore, their gods made up lies and told the people below that they called Gaia Island a Payado, and said that Gaia Island was given to them by God. Then in war after war Vice Admiral we drove out Shantora. We have not been back for nearly 400 years. That place is now basically a battlefield between our two clans, but something changed 10 years ago." Quote. Hearing this, everyone sighed. There is a sense of history. Cooley Guy couldn't help but light up a cigarette and fell silent. Robin's side captured the key point. "You mean what happened 10 years ago?" When Weber heard this, he looked at Robin, then looked around, and hesitated for a while. Seeing his appearance, everyone's curiosity couldn't help but become a little more intense. They were also puzzled as to what kind of guy could make this natural warrior so fearful. However, after Weber pondered for a few seconds, he took a deep breath and prepared to tell the truth to everyone in the black group. After all, they brought the descendants of Cooley Guy here to complete the agreement with more than 400 people from Sandia, so they still had to tell them the seriousness of the problem. But at this moment, Weibai heard the man who had grabbed his tall hockey before slowly nodding his head. "I probably know what you mean. I see. Was the incident 10 years ago caused by that man named Enel? It turns out that he now occupies the entire Sky Island. God's Enel, what an arrogant name, but I like it. After eating the thunder fruit, which is the strongest Logia, I am worthy enough to be called Enel of God." Hearing Blackbeard's words, not only Weber, but also everyone in the black group was shocked. Weber was shocked by Blackbeard's prophetic ability. After all, he hadn't said anything yet, and it was obviously the first time for these people to go to Sky Island. But this man seemed to understand everything instantly through himself. This kind of ability is only stronger than Enel, right? Thinking of this, Weber was shocked. He thought that the other party had just easily subdued him with one blow. For now, his strength can be said to be on par with Enel. This guy is as strong as a monster. Who is he? Compared to Weber, who was shocked by Blackbeard's strength, the members of the Black group were shocked by Logia's Thunderfruit, which Blackbeard said was the strongest. Hey, Teach, are you kidding? Nami swallowed her saliva and said timidly and curiously. The strongest Logia, Thunderfruit, is that stronger than the previous Smoke Fruit and Sand Fruit? Facing the curious eyes of everyone in the Black group, Blackbeard grinned and said, "Stop joking, Nami. Devil Fruit also has strengths and weaknesses. How can those two fruit abilities be compared with Thunder Fruit? Not on the same level at all. Otherwise, why is Thunder Fruit called the strongest Logia?" Quote, "The strongest Logia, hiss." Everyone in the Black group gasped. After being at sea for so long, they have already fought against 2 Logia ability users, no, 3 to be precise. Our captain is also a Logia ability user, one of the top abilities in his system. Possess the terrifying power of darkness and gravity. Although it cannot be elementalized, it does not need to be elementalized. This is already very heaven-defying. Now here comes another Thunder Fruit. Everyone in the Black group was a little numb, especially Badgers and the others. After all, they now know that those with Logia abilities who have not yet mastered Armed Seba. An angry person is invincible, immune to all physical damage. Fan Oka suddenly felt confident. He pushed up his glasses and said with a smile, "Just in time, I want to try to see if my armament hockey can cause damage to this Thunder Fruit user." Blackbeard smiled and shook his head. "If there were other fruits, I would allow you to try them, but Thunder Fruit, its destructive power is too strong and its speed is too fast. If you go up like this, you may be directly electrocuted into coke. I won't be able to save him by then. Don't underestimate the strongest Logia. It's Thunder Fruit. Even if he eats a piece of trash, he can immediately join the ranks of the top masters." Fan Oka suddenly fell silent after hearing this, but he was still very aware of current affairs and nodded immediately. "I understand, Captain. Don't worry, it's only been a long time since you started practicing hockey. It's already beyond my expectation that you can reach such a level." Blackbeard patted Fan Oka, then smiled at the Black group. "So, leave Enel to me, your captain. Want to try armament hockey's damage to Thunder Fruit users? After I defeat that god Enel, I will catch him on the boat and you can test him as you please. After all, Lousy's favorite thing is to drag gods down from the altar." Thief, ha 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 ha. Hearing Blackbeard's words, everyone in the Black group also smiled. "You actually want to capture that Thunder Fruit user on the ship? He is indeed his own captain." However, they are still very confident about the strength of their captain. "Regardless of whether we can pull that Enel on board, at least there is no problem in defeating him. Their captain's ability is the nemesis of all ability users." On the other hand, Weber was completely stunned. Why are these people so confident that their captain can defeat Enel? Don't you know how powerful Enel is? But that's not right either. As for the captain named Teach, his previous description of the Thunder Fruit clearly means he understands the power of this fruit better than he does. Then why did he dare to say something like defeating Enel? And judging from his tone, you want to arrest Enel on the ship? Are you crazy? Obviously impossible. Thinking of this, Weber's eyes became brighter and brighter. Although he had led his men to attack Enel and his priests several times, and knew the weakness of demon fruit power, he was still easily beaten by Enel like a cat playing with a mouse. In fact, he also knows that with their abilities, it is basically impossible to defeat Enel. If this man is really so confident, then what if I accompany him for a walk? Phew. With this in mind, Weber took another deep breath and said in a deep voice, "Mr. Teach, if you really want to take action against Enel, I can show you the way. We Sandians have dealt with Enel several times in order to regain Shantora. Every time he and his men played with ease. Maybe we have no chance to defeat him in this life, but as a warrior, I will not back down. This time you brought Lord Rolando's descendants, allowing us Sandians to fulfill our ancestors' promise, and I have no regrets anymore. On this trip, I will risk my life to accompany you to fight Enel again. We Xandian warriors will never let our friends charge ahead. After Weber finished speaking, everyone in the black group suddenly had a good impression of this somewhat reckless guy. In any case, his ability to stick to the promise of his ancestors for more than 400 years, coupled with his courage and loyalty, are very worthy of their admiration. We are going to, how can we let you, brother, fight alone? Coolie Guy put out the cigarette in his mouth and spoke in a deep voice. That's right, Big Brother's brother is our brother. Masla and the orangutan on the side also roared in unison. Closing square bracket exclamation mark quote. Weber wanted to dissuade him, but was suddenly interrupted by a big hand on his shoulder. Then, Blackbeard Hockey's incomparable voice sounded. We are not going to die, let's not make it sound like we are willing to sacrifice ourselves generously. You'll find out soon. What is the god of Enel? The one Lousy likes to fight the most as god. Guide all things. Let Lousy fly directly to the shrine. Thief ha 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 ha. When he saw the pirate ship under him flying away from the bye-bye sea, Weber, who was seeing it for the first time, was also shocked. Hey, the ship is flying. Originally, he thought this was something unbelievable, but he found that everyone on the ship, except him, behaved in a normal way. Is this also that guy's ability? Weber looked at the man above him with a solemn expression. At this time, Teach was standing in the sky, with a huge black hole filled with black mist suspended behind him. The whole person seemed to be bathed in darkness. In Weber's opinion, this man was like a demon in the legend. It actually gave him a more terrifying feeling than Enel. Just when he wanted to point out the direction, he discovered that the direction of the ship's flight was unexpectedly accurate. What's going on? Could it be that Captain Teach has the same powerful inner network as Elsa? It's really possible. Just when Weber was thinking about this, he heard Blackbeard's laughter echoing in the sky. Thief ha 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 ha. Another guy comes over. Friends, now that you are here, don't hide behind the clouds and peek. Otherwise, I will drag you to the ground. Quote, as a strange cry came from behind the clouds, an old man wearing gray armor and holding a knight's spear flew towards Teach sitting on a big pink bird covered with Madara dots. Ganfu, what are you doing here? After seeing the person coming, Weber immediately stood up with a frown. Weber, I'm not here to quarrel with you, let alone fight with you. Ganfuor said helplessly, then rode a flying bird to not far from Blackbeard and said, Sir, if you want to go to Enel, I advise you to think carefully. That man is absolutely invincible. He has the strongest Logia thunder ability. If you fly towards the shrine like this, you will become his target. His ability can easily attack any place on Sky Island. The most important thing is that any attack is invalid against Enel. What you are doing is equivalent to, old man, who are you looking down on? Before Ganfer finished speaking, he was interrupted by Bartolomeo below, who put his hands on his hips and said, Our captain is Blackbeard. Logia users are very strong, but our captain defeated many Logia users. Moreover, our captain is much stronger than you think. Also, Logia users are not invincible, and all attacks are invalid. Hey. Ganfu couldn't help but sigh after hearing this. In his opinion, those who have not witnessed Enel's terror with their own eyes will never understand the other's power. However, he seemed to suddenly think of something, and suddenly turned his head to look down at Weber, frowning and saying, Weber, didn't you tell them how powerful Enel is? Weber glanced at Ganford with deep meaning and said, Mr. Teach knows more than I do. What? How is this possible? Aren't they horses that just arrived at Sky Island? This time it was Ganfer's turn to be shocked. You know how scary Enel is, but you still go to him so blatantly. Not crazy, just confident enough in yourself. Judging from his views on the members of this ship, everyone seems to be not that simple. Moreover, each of them has a very powerful aura. Even Weber, who had once beaten their priest team to panic, seemed to be very mediocre among these people. After discovering this, Ganfu somewhat understood why a proud man like Weber would choose to follow this group of people to the temple to find trouble for Enel. Maybe this is really their only chance in this life. Hissing, taking a deep breath, Ganfu said in a deep voice, Mr. Teach, if you must go to war with Enel, then I also want to do my part. Thief ha ha ha. Blackbeard laughed and said, Have the former gods of Sky Island and the warrior chiefs of the Sandians joined forces with me? Very interesting. It doesn't matter, just come on. Maybe I can use this opportunity to kill Enel to resolve the 400-year-old conflict between your two races. Quote. Hearing this, Ganfu and Weber's bodies shook violently. They looked at each other, then looked away. But Blackbeard's words did leave a seed in the hearts of both of them. If Enel can really be solved by this adult, maybe it is really possible for the two tribes to return to peace. At the same time, above the White Sea, Angel Island, the king of God's camp, Enel, who was lying leisurely on the bench enjoying the food from the angel maid, suddenly sat up as if he felt something. Oh, is there a new prey? Soon, a wanton smile appeared on his expressionless face. He raised his head and looked into the distance, his gaze could penetrate the space, and then he laughed wildly and said, "Ha ha ha ha, interesting, interesting. Ganfu, Weber, you two actually invited a group of Qinghai people to serve as reinforcements. Do you want to use them to challenge my authority as a god? So what if I can fly? Isn't this just becoming a living target for me? God's sanction." Enel finished. A layer of blue lightning suddenly surrounded his wrist, and then he threw the lightning into the air with a flick of his hand. I saw a huge blue thunder pillar with a diameter of 5 or 6 meters appearing in the sky instantly. This thunder pillar streaked across the sky with a blue afterimage before disappearing above the shrine. Enel, on the other hand, rested one hand on his knees, holding his chin and looking into the distance, as if he could see the thunder column disappearing in the sky, with a look of interest on his face. At the same time, Beibihai, a pirate ship that was about to approach Angel Island, flew up from below the White Sea. Blackbeard, who was controlling the flying pirate ship, suddenly raised his eyebrows and revealed a smile. It seems that Enel is still very alert. Yes, observation hockey is not much weaker than me. But you want to shoot me down with this level of attack? You are too conceited. The darkness is overwhelming. Before the people below understood what was going on, they saw black mist rising from Blackbeard's body into the sky, directly turning into a huge black screen that stretched over 10 meters in front of his head. Tisk. The next second, a huge thunder pillar fell from the sky, as if it had deliberately hit the black screen, with precise destiny. Ganfer and Weber, who saw this scene below, immediately recognized this attack and exclaimed almost at the same time. Be careful, it's Enel's divine judgment. But just as the two of them screamed in surprise, the thunder pillar had already quietly disappeared above the black screen and disappeared, as if it had never appeared before. Blackbeard stood in the sky, his sight instantly enveloped the entire Angel Island. At the same time, he raised the palm of his right hand and pointed it in the direction of the distant shrine. It's rude to come and not reciprocate. Just give you a taste of your own attack. Liberation. Tisk. The next second, as the black mist surged in the sky, the direction of the huge black hole changed, and a lightning pillar that was exactly the same as before shot out directly from the black screen, bombarding it at high speed in the direction of the distant shrine. After a few seconds, boom, a huge explosion sounded in the distance in the direction of the shrine, and the echoing sound even reached them. What? This? Weber and Ganfer on the Sabaru both looked at this scene with horror on their faces. That is Enel's divine judgment. Was he actually taken advantage of by that man? What kind of abilities does Captain Teach have? In the distant shrine deep in Angel Island, Enel also looked very ugly. Seeing the bombed gate in front of him, a look of disbelief flashed across his face. He didn't understand how the other party allowed his attack to attack him instead. Although he is immune to lightning, he is Enel of God. How could you allow others to provoke you like this? Very good. I want to see how you handle this move. 6-pillar ruling. Enel directly raised his hands, and 6 thunder and lightning rings immediately appeared on his wrists. As he flicked his hands, these 6 thunder and lightning rings shot straight into the sky. Rumble. Immediately afterwards, 6 thunder and lightning rings turned into 6 paths thunder pillars in the sky and blasted directly in the direction of the black group. Tisk tisk tisk. 6 paths huge thunder column soon appeared above the Sabaru. I have to say that Enel still has unique insights and views on fruit development. They want to use quantity and speed to prevent Blackbeard from accurately absorbing all the thunder pillars at once, so that if a thunder pillar attacks them, it can cause great damage. I have to say that Enel has the right idea. If the two of them were equal in strength, it would be impossible for Blackbeard to use Dark Fruit to defend against all attacks, but for now, Blackbeard's hockey is west of Enel. Even Enel's best observation hockey is not as good as the current Blackbeard. Therefore, when Enel used the Six-Pillar Judgment, Blackbeard, who had already covered the entire Angel Island with observation hockey, had already predicted the direction of the Thunder Pillar. You must know that after this period of time, Blackbeard has gained control of the 7-star sword, and his observation hockey is no less than the level of advance payment. It's just that the direction of his vision is not to predict the future, but to focus on mental control and memory reading. Observation hockey is similar to Pluton Rayleigh in Alone Red. Certainly, the reason why Blackbeard has not mastered predicting the future is because he has not yet fought against such a master. If masters of their level compete against each other, with the same level of observation hockey, they will be able to figure out some of their opponent's abilities. Just like in the previous life plot, 2 years later, Luffy, who did not have the ability to predict the future, observation hockey, fought against Katakuri, who had the ability to predict the future. Although Katakuri is suspected of being released into the sea, Luffy undoubtedly mastered the ability to predict the future during his fight with him. You must know that Luffy himself has a special ability to listen to the sounds of all things. Judging from the fact that in his subsequent battle with Mr. Guy, predicting the future did not play a big role. This ability to predict the future may be okay for hockey's opponents who are weaker than him, but in a battle between top players, it is impossible to truly predict the future of a master of the same level as you. Otherwise, there is no need to fight. The real top powerhouse is still a competition between pure hockey, physical skills and fruit abilities. It is impossible for a single killing move to determine the outcome. Of course, this is not necessarily true if the strength exceeds too much, or the fruit's ability is too heaven-defying. After all, Luo and Kid have proven that the fruit is powerful. Even if hockey is weaker, he can really kill the 4 Emperors level powerhouse. Whistle, rustle, rustle. In the blink of an eye, the huge thunder pillars of 6 paths had been fired from all directions. However, Blackbeard's knowledge had already predicted the direction of the thunder pillars of 6 paths. The endless black mist formed huge black curtains and blocked them accurately. Down every thunder pillar. Puff puff. Enel in the palace opened his mouth in shock when he saw what happened, his face full of disbelief. How is this possible? You can actually stop it. Thief, ha 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 ha. Blackbeard burst out laughing. Enel, your strength is good, but hockey is still too weak. Even if you are proud of your inner network, I am still above you. This 6 paths thunder pillar is returned to you. Boo hoo hoo. As Blackbeard finished speaking, the 6 huge surging black curtains immediately spat out all the 6 paths thunder pillars that had just been fired into it, causing them to rush straight into the palace as they came. Enel in the palace could no longer sit calmly. He knew the power of his 6 paths thunder pillar. If this guy really lets this 6-pillar judgment fall on the shrine may be directly destroyed. Zilla. So in the next moment, with a flash of lightning, Enel appeared in the sky in front of the shrine. Looking at the huge thunder column fired by 6 paths, he just raised his hand and made a move. Zilla zilla zilla. The thunder pillar that was originally fired shot towards Enel as if it were alive, and then hit Enel directly. Zilla. Enel just took the 6 paths thunder pillar back into his body without any trouble as the electric light surged around his body. Immediately, he looked solemnly in the direction of the Bye-Bye Sea outside Angel Island, and murmured. It seems that a group of Qinghai people with good strength have arrived. It's just that you guys dare to offend the gods. Then, Liao Know-How has to pay the price. Immediately afterwards, the electric waves around Enel scattered, and then his voice appeared in the ears of the priests under him. Geddes, Shadley, Shira, Ohm, you lead the priest group to the Bye-Bye Beach of Angel Island immediately. There is an enemy invasion, prepare for war. The god-tier officials who were in their own mansions on Angel Island immediately responded with solemn expressions. Yes, Master Enel. At the same time, Angel Island, Bye-Bye Beach. Blackbeard placed the Sabaru directly on the shore, and then under everyone's puzzled eyes, he actually sat down cross-legged in midair. Everyone in the black group below was puzzled when they saw this scene. Weber was most puzzled and said, Mr. Teach, why didn't he continue the attack on Ikong Road? Did the attack you sent back earlier hit him? Blackbeard grinned and said, The hit hit him, but you know, he ate the thunder fruit. He is immune to any thunder and lightning. So the attack just now is meaningless. Quote. Ganfu also scratched his head in confusion and said. So you are now. Enel has called his group of priests and is coming here. Blackbeard looked down at them and grinned. And I'm waiting for them to come over. What? Weber and Ganfer's expressions changed drastically at the same time, and the former immediately roared. Mr. Teach, then I will immediately gather my subordinates to fight with you. Blackbeard waved his hand casually and said. You just need to take a look, the goal of my trip is Enel. This is our Blackbeard pirates' battle with him, no one else needs to interfere. I hope that Enel will be defeated by me soon. If he feels that there are outsiders who are unconvinced, then I will have a headache. Enel is a good young man, it would be a pity to kill him. Quote. What the hell, I'm afraid you're the only one who dares to say that, right? Is it a pity to kill a monster? Weber and Ganfer both felt confused. If another person said this, they would directly punch him twice to stop daydreaming. That is Enel of God, the strongest Logia Thunder Fruit ability owner. Not to mention whether you can win or not, but whether you can hurt the opponent is a question. But the man named Teach said this, and they suddenly felt that they could look forward to it again. After all, judging from his previous performance, Enel seemed to be unable to do anything to this man. Just when Weber and Ganfu were feeling complicated, the members of the Black Group had already begun to discuss gold matters in the Golden Land. Seeing this scene, both Weber and Ganfu were helpless. Do these people really not know how powerful their opponents are? Ta ta ta. Soon, a series of footsteps sounded above the white cloud stairs of Angel Island, and then several groups of figures appeared there. The leader was clearly Enel, who had 4 drums on his back and a long golden stick in his hand. The 4 people behind him were his 4 priests and the 100 divine soldiers they each led. Seeing this scene, Blackbeard's eyes lit up. During the Sky Island chapter in his previous life, he discovered that these magic weapons had very good qualifications. Because most of them have mastered a little bit of the use of observation hockey, and at the same time, their physical skills are also very good. This also illustrates their suitability for Marine 6 styles. Anyone who has undergone systematic training will be a high-quality soldier resource. The same is true for the 4 priests, and they will still be very good as members of the junior cadres in the future. Before that, Enel still needs to be conquered. This is his main purpose. Soon, at the top of the Bayun stairs, a priest holding a knight's gun, wearing a flying hat and goggles, and riding a purple strange bird stepped forward, looked at the black group below and shouted. Who are you? Why disturb the gods? I think this is your first offender. As long as you leave Sky Island quickly, we will no longer pursue you. Otherwise, I will let you understand the consequences of those who offend the gods. Wow! Immediately afterwards, hundreds of white-robed and white-winged magic soldiers behind him took a step forward, glaring at the black group of only a dozen or so people below with an imposing manner. Originally, they thought that this kind of behavior could intimidate the people in the black group, but they found that the people in the black group below did not even look at them. Instead, they seemed to be arguing about something. The captain said, "There are only 4 priests this time, how are we going to divide them?" Hey ha ha ha, I don't care, I want to share one. Before, it was Badgers and you guys who grabbed the monsters, this time it's my turn as a newcomer to take moves, right? No, the captain said that these priests and magic soldiers have mastered observation hockey to some extent. I have to find a guy to beat me. Maybe armament hockey will be awakened by then. I also want to find someone to try out the recent development progress of the sickle fruit. The old rules are rock, paper, scissors. Agree. YLVLV. These priests and magic soldiers all had a little bit of knowledge, so they easily heard their arguments clearly. They all looked strange at first, and then became angry. They have been used to being arrogant and domineering on Sky Island these years. Where have they ever been wronged like this? Wow, Lord Enel, let us kill these rude people for you. That's right, a mere Qinghai person can be so arrogant. It's time for them to understand the power of priests. Looking at the indignant priests and subordinates, Enel pondered for 2 seconds and then said with a bright smile. Okay, Geddes, Ohm, Shira, and Shadley, just bring your magic weapons and teach these Qinghai people a lesson from the gods. Yes, several priests immediately roared excitedly, and then led hundreds of divine soldiers to slide down the white cloud stairs on strange things. Hundreds of people rushed down the high slope on jet skateboards at the same time. From the perspective of the black group, it was quite spectacular. Blackbeard also stood up at this time, looked at the hundreds of guys riding jet skateboards, then lowered his head and glanced at the people who had been allocated, and said with a smile, "Since you have already allocated it, I will reduce the number for you. Too many people is indeed a bit troublesome." Buzz. The next moment, a terrifying aura burst out from Blackbeard's body, instantly sweeping away the hundreds of divine soldiers rushing down. Bang bang bang. The next second, under the shocked gazes of Weber, Ganfer, the four priests, and Enel, the hundreds of magic soldiers following the four priests rolled their eyes and passed out. Puff puff. In just a few breaths, those magic soldiers were lying down, prone, or stuck upside down on the white cloud ground, and each one of them passed out. But at this time, there were only four priests left who rushed straight in front of the black group without abating their momentum. The atmosphere suddenly solidified. Enel was once again shocked and dumbfounded. JPG. What power is this? Although he could do it to kill so many magic weapons in one instant, he couldn't do it so easily. And the man opposite didn't even seem to move. The black mist that resisted his six-pillar decision BBFC before was able to defeat hundreds of magic weapons so easily without using it, which really made him a little unbelievable. Especially the force that swept over him before made him feel a kind of oppression. This was a feeling he hadn't had since eating thunder fruit. What kind of existence can oppress gods? What happened? Are these Qinghai people? Master Enel is right, these Qinghai people are not simple, please be careful. The expressions of several priests finally became serious at this time. The black group has already won 4 people in rock, paper, scissors, namely Badgers, Crow, Bartolomeo, and Poison Q. As the only loser, Fanoka stood aside rubbing his forehead in distress. Robin, Nami, and Carmen were sitting leisurely under a sun umbrella, drinking coffee and eating desserts. They were completely out of tune with the solemn atmosphere in front of them. Seeing this scene, Kakuzu couldn't help but twitched his mouth and asked, "Three beauties, are you a little too outrageous?" Just as he was thinking about this, he heard the captain's laughter coming from above his head. "Ha ha ha ha, Carmen, your skills are getting better and better. This egg yolk pie tastes great, exactly like what I said." Looking up, Fanoka's face turned dark. His own captain actually held a small drink in one hand and gnawed a piece of egg yolk pie as big as his head in the other, making it clear that he was watching a show. His behavior also made the opposite Enel's face darken. Does this guy show too little respect for him as a god? At this moment, the battle between the black group cadres and the priests below finally started, which also drew Enel's attention. He wants to see if this guy's subordinates are stronger or his priests are stronger. Crow. Leave me the one with the sword, I'll take it. Badgers. No problem, leave the one in the purple suit to me. Poison Q. I don't care, just pick the rest and give it to me. Bartolomeo put his hands on his hips. I just happen to have learned moonwalk. I just want to give it a try. Leave the one who can fly to me. After saying that, the 3 of them rushed towards their opponents. Poison Q, on the other hand, looked like a disabled person who might fall down at any time, and walked toward Shadley in a swaying manner. Above the sky, after Blackbeard finished the egg yolk pie in one bite, he looked at the ugly-looking Enel in the distance and said with a smile. I said, Enel, do you want to make a bet to see who is better, your subordinates or mine? Enel's face stiffened and he shouted in a deep voice. Of course my subordinates are great. What if my men win? Blackbeard looked at him with a half-smile. Enel's face darkened. Then I will kill them with my own hands. Hey, don't be too outrageous. Blackbeard rolled his eyes and said. If my subordinates win, how about you join my pirate group and become my partner? Don't be too arrogant, Qinghai people. Enel heard this and said angrily. A mere mortal actually wants to recruit gods. Blackbeard didn't care at all about Enel's stinky fart. He raised his finger and pointed down at Shadley, who was fainted by the poison Q poison the next time he came across it, and said. Oh, God, one of your priests has fallen. Nani, so fast. Enel was still preventing Blackbeard from getting angry, but he didn't expect that the other party would not be provoked at all, and he didn't expect that one of his priests would be killed so quickly. Who is it? Suddenly. How can this be? She obviously also mastered the power of the hard network. How did that guy defeat her? Not even the sound of fighting was made. Enel's expression was extremely solemn. He had personally trained these 4 priests and taught them the power of the hard network. How could he be killed so easily? Sure enough, this group of Qinghai people is not that simple. Seeing Enel's solemn expression, Blackbeard smiled and said, "As a god, how can his expression be so cautious? Don't worry, I'm just giving you a casual lesson today, I won't really kill you. But there may be many lessons like this in the future. As an adult, you have to learn to get used to it." Quote, "How can you repair it, you rude mortal?" Enel's face was extremely gloomy, but he still had no intention of taking action. He had to first find out some clues from this Qinghai man's subordinates so that he could be more confident in his future battle with this man. The cadres from both sides below have completely surrendered. Spoon soul-destroying iron claw. Tisk tisk tisk. After testing several attacks, Crow found that the opponent could avoid them with observation hockey, so he went into a violent state. Streams of sword energy shot out from his cat's claw espada, forcing Ohm into a desperate situation. During previous training, Crow asked Blackbeard how he should deal with someone who has mastered observation hockey if he hasn't mastered observation hockey yet. Blackbeard told him that unless the opponent's knowledge was not advanced, there was basically no possibility of winning. If the opponent only masters the basic observation hockey, then you can use a speed far exceeding the opponent's, making the opponent's body unable to keep up with the reaction of observation hockey. In this way, you can constantly hurt the opponent, causing the opponent to be unable to maintain observation hockey's calmness. This is enough to kill your opponent. This is what Crow did at this time. His figure turned into an afterimage and disappeared, attacking Ohm from all directions. This caused countless Gangfang sword energy slashed by Cat Claw Espada to directly surround Ohm. Iron Cloud Slash. 1. Clang clang clang. When Ohm saw this, he looked very solemn and waved the retractable Iron Cloud sword in his hand to resist the wind blade slashed by Crow. He. Even though Ohm's swordsmanship was not bad, he still couldn't avoid the fact that his body couldn't react to the Gangfang sword chi that was slashing rapidly from all directions, causing his body to start to show blood marks from the wind sword. Spoon Blade Storm. On the contrary, Crow was completely excited and forgot about Blackbeard's words to keep his hand, and directly activated his ultimate move. Buzz Buzz. Badges and Gatas, who were fighting each other with punches, and Bartolomeo and Shira, who directly wrapped their opponents in the barrier ball from a distance, making the opponent's attacks quickly escape. The 4 people were attracted by the huge movement and turned their heads. Then they saw that where Crow and Ohm were fighting, a huge tornado that was 30 to 40 meters tall and 7 or 8 meters in diameter had appeared. There were countless winds in the tornado. The gang sword chi is spinning. The surrounding white clouds and trees were directly cut into countless pieces. Seeing this scene, Enel's expression also changed. Is he an ability user again? Hey, Crow, you've gone too far. Seeing this, Blackbeard couldn't help but shouted helplessly. That's almost it. Don't kill people, and then capture them and put them on the ship as partners. Wow, hoo. Hearing Blackbeard's roar, the huge tornado gradually calmed down. The 2 people in the middle were immediately revealed. One is a man wearing a black suit with slightly messy hair. He is pushing his glasses with his right wrist and the long cat claw of his left hand hangs down casually. The other one was a man who was covered in blood, his clothes were torn and had passed out. Did that guy Ohm get killed too? Getas and Shira were also shocked. Click. Crow took off the cat claw espada, waved at the chosen poisonous move and said, "Poison Q, come here and treat the wounded." Upon hearing this, Poison Q immediately came over with a medicine box on his back. After seeing Ohm's miserable condition, he couldn't help but said, Come on, the captain has said that he will be captured as a partner, but you are so ruthless." "Huh." Crow exhaled a breath and said a little tiredly, "There's nothing I can do about it. This guy's intelligence is very strong, so I can't hold back. He probably won't die, right?" Poison Q glanced at it and nodded. "You won't die, don't worry. Okay, I'll leave it to you." After saying that, Crow walked leisurely towards the camp on the shore. When Badges saw this scene from a distance, his expression changed. He looked at Getas, who was already bruised and swollen by him, and said with a smile. "Way ha 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 ha. Gatas, you are still too weak. Let's fight again after you get on the ship and become stronger. Now, let's deal with you first." Upon hearing this, Gain immediately rolled his eyes and became furious. "Don't underestimate people, Badgers. Look at me, you. Who are you rolling your eyes at? What a bad habit." Boom. Faced with Gadaz's punch, Badgies raised his arm and knocked the punch away easily, and then hit his lower handle with an uppercut. Iron body fist steel. Bang. Click. A crisp sound sounded, and Gadaz's jawbone was shattered, and his body flew dozens of meters upside down and hit the white clouds, and he passed out. Bartolomeo's side was even simpler. He drained all the air in the barrier ball and directly squeezed Shira and his big bird together, causing him to pass out due to lack of oxygen. Immediately, Bartolomeo waved his hand towards the sky and said, "Captain, it's all done." Blackbeard nodded, then turned to Enel and said, "Have you seen enough, Enel? Now it's just you. If you are not sure, how about joining us directly?" Dong dong dong. Enel told Blackbeard directly with action. He raised the long golden stick in his hand and struck the taiko drum behind him twice, and then a blue brontosaurus with a length of dozens of meters appeared. The top of his head. Roar. The brontosaurus roared. Enel pointed the long golden stick in his hand at Blackbeard and shouted, "Since you are so arrogant, let you bear the wrath of the gods." 60 million volts Thunder Dragon. Blackbeard raised his hand to his forehead and laughed gradually wildly. "Ha ha ha ha. I've said it all, it's useless. In that case, let me drag you, a god, down from the altar." Darkness. Black mist rose into the sky around Blackbeard, turning into a large black hand with a diameter of 10 meters in the sky in front of him and directly pinched the brontosaurus that was rushing toward him. Dull. Immediately, this 60 million volt Thunder Dragon gradually disappeared in the palm of the big black hand under the shocked eyes of Enel and everyone. "Is it the same trick as before?" Enel looked solemn, but his movements did not stop. Sizzling. Enel, whose whole body was bathed in lightning, began to beat the taiko drum quickly on the long golden stick in his hand. Dong dong dong. The next moment, 9 tens of meters long thunder dragons roared out of Enel's body, and then circled and circled above his head. For a moment, the sound of dragon roars echoed across the sky. This scene made Weber and Ganfer below look pale. At this moment, they finally understood that Enel used to play with them and was not serious at all. Just one of this terrifying thunder dragon is enough to wipe out all their soldiers and warriors, let alone 9 of them at the moment. Is that Mr. Teach really Enel's rival? Not only Webb and Ganfu were shocked, but everyone in the black group below also looked solemn. They asked themselves that they would not be able to withstand the attack of the next thunder dragon. 60 million volts. Such terrifying electric energy could kill them in an instant. Is this the so-called strongest Logia thunder fruit? Everyone looked solemn. The angels who were peeking at this scene on Angel Island in the distance all looked pale. At this moment, they finally felt the terror of God. Just when a haze hung over everyone's heads, a wave of wanton laughter echoed in the sky. "Very good, Enel, that's it. Use all your strongest moves. Pleasure me to your heart's content, Enel. Thief ha 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 ha." Arrogant. Enel originally thought that this move would frighten the man in the sky in the distance, but he didn't expect that the other man would be so arrogant. He immediately pointed his golden stick and shouted, "Kowloon Thunder Explosion. Ang ang ang." Immediately afterwards, the 9 brontosaurus hovering above Enel's head roared and bit Blackbeard from all directions. 3 songs and 9 arms black-winged demon Ashura. Blackbeard was not afraid at all. After shouting, he clapped his hands. The next second, the endless black mist shrouded him in it. A 3-headed black giant 30 to 40 meters tall gathered in the sky, and then 9 huge arms protruded from the body of the black fog giant, accurately catching every thunder dragon that came to bite. This is the true use of darkness. Not only can it absorb all attacks, but it can also condense into various shapes of black mist with Blackbeard's thoughts. "Ha ha ha ha, how could I let you succeed again?" Enel opened his arms and laughed. "Blow it up." Blackbeard's eyes flashed red, and the endless black instantly enveloped him in the black building's body. Rumble. It's just that the huge mushroom cloud exploded from the power of Enel's 9 dragons thunder explosion, collapsed in half in the blink of an eye, and in another breath, the aftermath of the explosion disappeared. The black giant in the sky in the distance had only 9 arms blown into countless scattered black mist. The main body was still in a chaotic black mist, with no sign of dissipating. This scene made Enel, who was laughing wildly in the distance, suddenly stop laughing. Not bad, very good. Blackbeard's figure floated out from the black giant's chest again. Come again. Thunder fruit should be more than that. Come, let me see your full strength. You guy. Enel now finally understood that the guy in front of him who was covered in black energy was probably a powerful ability user just like him. Thinking of this, he no longer hesitated. Comparable, comparable, comparable. Countless blue thunder and lightning burst out from all around him and shot into the clouds above the sky. Rumble. In the blink of an eye, the white clouds in the sky turned into rolling dark clouds filled with blue lightning thunderclouds. At the same time, Enel's body also expanded rapidly, becoming a thunder giant 20 or 30 meters tall. It's an enlarged version of Enel. 20 million volts Thor. Enel stood in the sky, his low roar spread across the sky, and with the dark clouds of lightning and thunder above his head, it really felt like the arrival of the god of thunder. Seeing Enel become so huge, everyone in the black group below couldn't help but start discussing. This guy has grown so big, doesn't he become the captain's target? What target? Stop joking, the captain never took it seriously from beginning to end. What? How is this possible? Captain Teach has always been defensive but not offensive. If he uses that move, are you sure Enel's ability can still be used? Ah, it seems so, but isn't Enel's move too cumbersome? It's really a bit stupid. Just when everyone in the black group was discussing that Enel had become huge and bulky, Enel's dozens of meters tall thunder giant, which was hundreds of meters away, actually arrived in front of Blackbeard's black-winged demon in a flash of lightning. Seeing Enel with such terrifying speed, everyone in the black group couldn't help but be shocked. Thunder God's Fist. After arriving in front of Blackbeard, Enel punched Blackbeard without any hesitation. A red light flashed in Blackbeard's eyes, and before the punch hit him, he stepped out with a burst of air, and in the blink of an eye, he appeared 100 meters behind the black-winged demon. At the same time, the 9 arms of the black-winged demon turned into huge black fists and struck towards Enel. The next second, the two collided. Boom, sizzling. Black mist and blue thunder exploded in the sky. The turbulent air waves caused the expressions of everyone in the black group below to change. The blue thunder in the sky kept jumping and flashing, and a random bolt of lightning fell from the sky and blasted a big hole in the island cloud on the ground. At the same time, the 9 arms in the sky that were blown away from the black-winged demon also turned into countless black snow, which was frantically absorbing the power of thunder. When Enel saw this scene, he caught up with Blackbeard again and shouted. Didn't you, this guy, say you want to pull me down from the altar? Didn't you say you wanted to conquer me? If you keep hiding like this and don't even dare to take one of my moves, do you think you deserve to have me become your deputy? Do not make jokes. Hearing this, the people in the black group watching the battle below looked strange. Nami raised her forehead and shook her head. This guy is going to be in trouble. He's trying to force Teach to take action. He'll be beaten until his nose is bruised and his face is swollen, right? Hey. When everyone heard Robin's sinister laughter, they couldn't help but feel hungry. Above the sky, Blackbeard also burst out laughing and said, well, I will satisfy your request. For now, it seems like you've exhausted all your options. That's fine. Let you feel how different the world is. Razor. Bang bang bang. As Blackbeard finished speaking, he directly stepped out of sonic blast waves hundreds of meters away in the sky, turned into a black stream of light, and instantly came to Enel, a giant covered in thunder and lightning. The next second, Blackbeard's fist with the purple-black emission hockey hit Enel's thunder giant's stomach. Enel saw this, with excitement and contempt on his face, and laughed wildly at the same time. Stupid Qinghai people, I have 200 million volts of thunder on my body. Whenever you touch me or someone else, it is equivalent to being attacked by 200 million volts. What's more, you don't know that Logia users are immune to all physical attacks, ah. Bang. Before Enel could finish speaking, the thunder giant tens of meters tall turned into a bow shape after being hit in the stomach by Blackbeard's punch. Wah wah wah. Boom. Immediately, under Enel's bulging eyes and the look of disbelief on his face, his figure flew directly upside down for dozens of meters and hit the island clouds hard. The huge thunder giant that was dozens of meters away gradually disappeared and returned to Enel's original appearance. Cough, cough, cough. Enel, who was lying in a huge crater on the island, was holding his stomach and coughing uncontrollably. From time to time, he would cough up blood and stomach acid. He simply looked up at the sky. I saw the man whose whole body was wrapped in purple-black arrogance, just like an ancient god and demon, standing proudly in the sky and looking down at him with an expressionless face. Seeing the unscathed appearance of this man, Enel couldn't accept it and yelled. Impossible. Cough, cough, cough. How come you weren't hurt at all? You were exposed to 200 million volts of lightning. Why can you hit me? Obviously I am immune to all physical attacks. Blackbeard chuckled and shook his head. Enel, your vision is limited to this small sky island. How do you know how big the world is? Does being a little sky island god in this peaceful place make you so arrogant? It's like a frog in a well. Enel, you kind of disappoint me. Enel's face turned red when he was told that. He held his stomach and straightened up, staring at Blackbeard in the sky and yelled. Joke, you are the frog in the well. What I long for is the infinite land above the sky. How could you, a mere Qinghai native, know about this god's ambition? The Ark of God, Proverbs is almost completed. At that time, I will personally go to the infinite land. Hearing Enel's words, everyone in the black group was stunned and subconsciously raised their heads. The infinite land above the sky. Is there another landmass above Sky Island? How can this be? But as soon as they thought of this, their hearts swelled again. You know, before going to Sky Island, they didn't believe in the existence of Sky Island. So is that infinite land also. Thinking of this, everyone in the black group subconsciously turned to look at their captain. At this time, they heard their captain smile disdainfully. To the infinite land, just you mean above the moon, right? That place is much smaller than the place we live in now. Does it deserve to be called the infinite Earth? Do you want to fly into the universe without even understanding your own planet? Perhaps among the stars and the sea. There is the infinite land in your dream, but you are too weak now. Enel, just above the vast sea below, there are countless people who have the power to hurt you just now. Even in my pirate group, Oka now has the power to directly attack your Logia body. Moreover, on top of this power, there is a stronger power. You don't even understand these, you don't even have this basic power, and you still want to conquer the stars and the sea. You said, you are not a frog in the well, what are you? Nani? Enel had a question mark upon hearing this. There are countless people on the sea below who have the power to attack Logia. How can this be? It was obvious that what he ate was the Logia thunder fruit with invincible power. But does this man need to lie to himself? Enel's eyes flashed. He suddenly raised his head and looked at the sky that was already covered with dark clouds and thunderous thunder. A smile appeared on the corner of his mouth, and his body turned into a bolt of thunder and lightning and soared into the sky directly to the bottom of the dark clouds. Then, he looked down at Blackbeard and everyone in the black group and laughed. Ha 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 ha, maybe what you said makes sense. But this god will not give in easily. If you can accept my move, what if I go to Qinghai with you? If you can't take this move, just fall from the height of 10,000 meters. Lei Ying, rumble rumble. As Enel shouted loudly, a huge blue-gray thunderball with a diameter of 1 kilometer pushed through the dark clouds in the sky and slowly fell downwards. Seeing this scene, the faces of everyone from Angel Island, Sandia, and even the black group changed drastically, and their faces were full of shock. Previously, just a small bolt of lightning directly blasted a hole of more than 10 meters. If this huge thing fell, wouldn't the entire Sky Island be blown up? Oops, the captain won't let it go. The people in the black group couldn't help but feel excited at this time. Enel's sense of knowledge naturally noticed the changes in their expressions and mentality. He lifted the kilometer-diameter Lei Ying with one hand and said with a smile. Ha 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 ha, tremble, be afraid, struggle. Yes, that's it. This is the attitude you should have when facing gods. Just when Enel was so proud, on the white beach below, someone pointed at Enel and shouted. What kind of god are you? Gods are all existences that protect the people. You are just a destructive guy at best. Give him a good beating. This guy is so annoying. Blackbeard looked at the angry Nami, and his eyes immediately scanned the angels who were screaming in fear. He understood that Nami was thinking of the villagers of Kokoyashi village who had been destroyed by Arlong. Them. Immediately his expression turned cold, he stared at Enel and grinned. Shao I recognize your strength, but I don't like it if you make us navigators angry. Now that our Nami has spoken, there is no need to continue testing. Pipe, quote. After saying this, a terrible suction force swept out from Blackbeard's palm aimed at Enel. Ha ha ha, I can feel their fear. You may not be able to solve this trick, right? Don't be too arrogant. Enel was just halfway through his words when he felt his body flying uncontrollably towards Blackbeard, who turned into a black stream of light and flew towards him. He tried to use lightning to escape, but he couldn't do it. The terrible suction force pulled him firmly in that direction. In addition, Blackbeard also flew towards Enel in the sky, running in both directions. Enel was caught by Blackbeard in a few breaths. Snapped. Feeling his neck being pinched by the other party, Enel was not surprised but laughed happily. Ha 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 ha. Originally I knew how to get close to you and attack your body, but now you are seeking death. 200 million volts discharge. What's the situation? My ability. Has failed. Enel's smile froze on his face in the next second, followed by panic, and then shock. No matter how much he tried to use Thunderfruit's power, he got no response at all. The next second, cold sweat broke out on Enel's forehead, his eyes bulged, a stream of mucus flowed from his nostrils, his mouth grew wide and he looked at Blackbeard with a horrified face. He, Enel of God, was subdued by the opponent with just such a move. Impossible, absolutely impossible, snapped. Just when he couldn't help but shake his head in disbelief, he was greeted by Blackbeard's palm as big as a cattail leaf, which directly gave Enel a hard blow. Why don't you call me God, Enel? Make you naughty. Let lousy work as a handyman on the ship for a month as punishment. PFF'd. Seeing Enel, who was majestic before and looked like a god descending to earth, now being carried like a baby by Blackbeard and eating his pussy, everyone below couldn't help but laugh out loud. That was a big fight that entangled senior armament hockey. Enel was covered in just a few strokes. Enel, who was originally a little depressed, suddenly raised his swollen head and smiled. Don't think that catching me will solve everything. Look at the tops of your heads. Without my control, Lei Ying will completely lose control. If you don't let me go, you will be waiting to fall 10,000 meters into the sky together with this Angel Island. Ha 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 ha. Ouch. Enel didn't get mad for a few seconds before he gave Blackbeard a hard blow that completely stopped him. Everyone in the black group was originally nervous, but when they saw their captain looking so relaxed, they completely relaxed. My own captain would not do anything uncertain. Sure enough, everyone in the black group, as well as the Sandians and Sky Islanders watching the battle from a distance, looked at the scene in front of them in shock. I saw Blackbeard lifting Enel directly into the sky, and came to the place where the Thunderstar was slowly emerging from the dark clouds. Shall I watch and see how your captain cleans up the mess you left behind? Blackbeard grabbed the back of Enel's fateful neck with one hand and turned his head upward. He slowly raised his hand, as if he was going to lift the huge thunderball with a diameter of 1,000 meters. Hey, you guy, do you want to die? Enel couldn't help but subconsciously exclaimed when he saw this scene. After the previous battle with Pua, he really recognized the man in front of him. After all, he is the man who can bring his god Enel down from the altar. Thief, ha 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 ha. Blackbeard just laughed wildly. Enel, you know nothing about my power. Swallow to devour all things and tear everything apart. Darkness. Whistle, rustle, rustle. As Blackbeard finished speaking, endless darkness spurted out from his raised left hand, instantly turning into a black screen that filled the sky and directly intercepted the slowly falling 1,000-meter thunderball in midair. When the people below saw this, it was as if Blackbeard had lifted the huge thunderball with one person. Sizzling. As the darkness connected with the thunderball wrapped with blue lightning, countless lightning flashes suddenly raged in the sky. The dark clouds above the head were blasted into huge holes by the overflowing lightning, allowing bunches of golden sunlight to fall through them, which turned out to have a strange sense of beauty. And Blackbeard, standing in the golden sunshine under the sky, is like a god in the world and cannot be looked directly at. Although the people below were shocked and experienced when seeing this scene, they became even more nervous and worried. because the huge thunder ball randomly fired a bolt of lightning and dispersed the dark clouds in the sky. In just a moment, the dark clouds in the sky had already dissipated. If the entire thunderball fell, the consequences would be unimaginable. Can that thin layer of darkness really withstand thunderballs? Su. Just when everyone was worried, the blue-gray thunderball with a diameter of 1,000 meters was already half wrapped in darkness. There are less and less thunder and lightning spilling into the sky. Then a weird scene happened. That huge thunderball, which is thousands of meters in diameter, is still sinking. And the sinking speed is getting faster and faster. But there was clearly a thin layer of black mist below the thunderball, and below it was only the man holding Enel with one hand and holding up the entire sky with the other. Is that black mist also an ability? Zzz. As Lei Ying was swallowed and torn apart by the black hole, the thunder and lightning it could burst out became less and less, and the entire sky began to gradually become quiet. Until 10 seconds pass. That huge thunder ball that stretched across the sky was completely swallowed up by the thin layer of black mist, and completely disappeared from the sky. As the endless black mist gradually disappeared into the man holding Enel in the sky, the entire sky became completely clear and blue, as if nothing had happened. Is this your true strength? Enel, who was held in Blackbeard's hand, finally showed an admiring tone at this moment. I didn't expect that Qinghai would have such a terrifying strong man like you. It's really hard to imagine what kind of sea it is. I have terrible news for you. Blackbeard brought Enel closer and said with a wicked smile. There are many strong men like me on the sea below. If you don't even have the consciousness to face them, then I might as well finish you off right here. Cough. Enel was so frightened that he coughed quickly and said, No, you said you wanted me to get on the boat. Wait, you said there are many monsters like you in that sea. How can this be? As Enel spoke, he suddenly felt something was wrong. He was so shocked by Blackbeard's words that his eyes almost bulged out, and Enel's exclusive shocked emoticon appeared. Nothing is impossible. Blackbeard laughed. So you are a frog in the well. Thunderfruit, who has the strongest logia, doesn't become famous as a pirate with lousy. What's the point of staying here and being a little god? How about, do you want to follow me to the sea below, spread your reputation as Enel of God throughout the world, and let countless strong people worship you? Hearing Blackbeard flirt again, well, he invited again, and Enel said it was impossible not to be moved. He had been completely impressed by the man in front of him before. Both strength and courage are far above him. Moreover, as he said, there are many strong men like him above the big pirate below. It really gave him some long-lost enthusiasm. Facts have proved that he was moved. Spread the fame of Enel the God throughout the world. Enel raised his head and glanced at the skyline leading to the infinite continent. Then he slowly lowered his gaze and looked at the man with a grin. Okay, then I will temporarily shelve my plan to go to the infinite continent and accompany you to have some trouble in the sea below. If I can't even conquer the sea below, I'll be troubled if I just head to the infinite continent. From now on, I will be the vice captain of your Blackbeard pirates. Blackbeard let go of Enel, letting him float in the sky, laughing and reaching out to him. Then, you are welcome to join me, my future deputy. Ouch. As soon as he shook hands with Enel, he felt a flash of lightning in his hand, which shocked him so much that he immediately grinned. You know, he has to take double the damage. This sudden shock was really painful. After all, he hasn't met anyone who can attack his body since he went to sea. Ha. Enel laughed proudly when he saw this scene. So you can get hurt and be afraid of thunder and lightning. I thought you were invincible. Hey, Captain, I have something to say. Enel, who was originally smiling and laughing, suddenly realized that something was wrong in the atmosphere, because he found that the captain on the opposite side had stopped smiling and was raising a casserole-sized fist that made him feel like a nightmare. Before he could react, he had already punched him on the skull. Call out. Boom. Then, everyone in the black group below saw Enel turn into a blue lightning and fall from the sky into a large font and hit the ground, already dead. Call out. Blackbeard also landed next to him, glanced at the shocked black group, and laughed. Guys, I've got a new partner. This time it's your first officer. By the way, Poison Q will give this guy a good treatment 10 times over. He had just been hit hard by Lousy several times, and he was probably seriously injured. With his fragile body, it was already very difficult for him to survive until now. Quote. Coming. Duque immediately walked over carrying the medicine box. Weber and Ganfer both looked at Enel lying in the pit with complicated expressions. If Teach hadn't already invited Enel on board, they would have really wanted to take advantage of this moment to deal with this guy. But just think about it. They don't want to send away Enel and provoke a guy more terrifying than Enel. At this moment, Ganfer suddenly looked at Blackbeard and said cautiously, Mr. Teach, I want to ask Enel something after he wakes up. The field is important. Blackbeard's eyes flashed red, and he understood what Ganfer wanted to ask, and he immediately said, You want to ask where the men recruited by Enel have gone, right? Is Mr. Teach's inner network already so strong? You knew it before I even said it out loud. Ganfer was shocked. Weber on the other side was much calmer at this time. Even Enel was easily controlled by this man. He really didn't think there was anything this man couldn't do. My observation hockey is a special kind. Blackbeard pondered for 2 seconds and then said, The people you are talking about should be on the other half of Gaia Island that washed up, which is what you call a Piado. It just so happens that we are now going to watch over there. You can also come along, and I will help you put back the men recruited by Enel. Boom. Hearing this, Ganfer knelt down without hesitation and said excitedly, Mr. Teach, thank you so much, thank you for everything you have done for Sky Island. Blackbeard raised his hand with a complicated expression and waved, then directly pulled Ganfer up and shook his head. It's just a matter of convenience. After saying that, he walked towards the black group. After eating some of Carmen's delicious food, Blackbeard and his party took the Sabaru and headed towards a Piado. With Blackbeard's knowledge, he quickly located the huge cave built by Ark Proverbs. After they arrived, they directly dismissed the male angels who were being used as coolies by the magic soldiers. Originally, these magic soldiers wanted to resist, but after seeing the unconscious Enel and the priests, they were paralyzed. On the contrary, everyone in the black group was amazed after seeing the Ark's motto. You must know that the Sabaru is already very big. But the Ark's Proverbs is 5 times larger than the Sabaru, and several sizes larger than a large marine warship. Such a huge ship, even the giants would have no problem getting on it. Enel may even have had this in mind when building it. No wonder this guy Enel. All the gold in Shantora was collected to build this Ark, Proverbs. It can be used both in sea and sky. Now it's good, someone got it, and now we even have the real ship of the Blackbeard pirates. Enel also woke up at this time, and he was not surprised when he saw where he was. After all, he knew that Blackbeard's knowledge was even better than his, so it was normal for him to discover this place so quickly. He just looked at the empty cave and said helplessly, I said, Captain, if you let all those people go, who will help us build Proverbs? There are also many large objects that still require people to carry them. Now it's troublesome. Quote, Blackbeard smiled when he heard this and said, You're talking about the golden gears that need to be assembled, right? Small problem. Snapped. As Blackbeard snapped his fingers, those huge golden gears suddenly levitated directly into the air. Seeing this scene, Enel was shocked again and said, Captain Teach, what are your abilities? Blackbeard smiled proudly and said, I'll tell you later. Let's assemble Noah first. After all, this will be the main ship of our Blackbeard pirates in the future. Enel didn't have any objections, but said proudly, Captain, do you like this ship I built? It will give you more surprises in the future, just take a look. Proverbs will become famous all over the world with me. Hearing this, Blackbeard was a little surprised and said, Enel, you are actually a shipbuilder. Of course. Enel said proudly, I grew up in the shipyard of Burka. It's a pity that those guys are not humane. They treat me like a slave, and they also took away the shipbuilding knowledge I gained from the secret realm. Fortunately, I was lucky enough to eat this thunder fruit and get everything back. Also, Captain, I am not a shipbuilder, but a master shipbuilder. Everyone in the black group also looked at Enel curiously. They also thought that Enel, this stinky guy, was actually a master shipbuilder. Blackbeard rolled his eyes and said, Look how proud you are, now you don't call yourself a god. Ha 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 ha. Everyone laughed when they heard this. Enel didn't care and began to direct Blackbeard to move the gears and other heavy equipment. In less than an hour, Blackbeard easily placed all the heavy items. Seeing this, Enel couldn't help but sigh. Captain, if you had come earlier, Proverbs would have been built long ago. Your ability is so convenient, you can handle any heavy object with ease. Ark Proverbs, finished. When everyone saw the intact Ark's motto, they couldn't help but marvel. Then they all boarded the boat to visit. Everything on board is perfect. From crew accommodation to entertainment, there are a total of 50 rooms, and they are all boutique suites. It has to be said that Enel calls himself a master shipbuilder for a reason. Just this motto of being able to use both sea and air will not satisfy all the adventurers and pirates on the sea. You must know that this ship can sail without wind power and rely on electricity. What a dream boat! After visiting Ark Proverbs, everyone in the Black group had a much improved impression of Enel. Afterwards, Blackbeard looked at Cooleyguide and Weber and smiled. Now I'm done with my work. Let's go. I'll take you to find the legendary Golden Bell. Both Weber and Guy Cooley were pleasantly surprised. Ganfu was also very surprised and said, "Does the legendary golden clock really exist?" "It's natural." Then, Blackbeard took off with a group of them and rushed towards the sky-reaching vine. Then he found the golden bell that had been sleeping here for hundreds of years in the white clouds under a leaf at the top of the vine. Immediately, Blackbeard raised his hand and patted Luo Chen on the shoulder, who was still looking at the scenery, and said with a smile, "Robin, have you seen the second piece of historical text that I agreed with you? It's right there." Hearing this, Robin turned around in shock and saw the blue historical text inlaid under the golden clock. This made her immediately run over excitedly. A few hours later. Dong, dong, dong. After hundreds of years, the beautiful bell of the Golden Bell sounded again in the ruins of Shantora, bringing peace. The Sandians and Angels, who had been fighting each other for hundreds of years, concluded a peace agreement in the presence of everyone in the Black group, and Apayado became co-owners from then on. After the banquet that night, everyone in the Black group returned to the cave where the Ark Proverbs was located. Next is the training plan arranged by Blackbeard for everyone. 1 month later, night. New World, Whitebeard Territorial Waters. Aboard the Moby Dick, in Whitebeard's room. Whitebeard looked at Marco in front of him with a solemn expression and said, "Still no news from Ace?" "No." Marco shook his head with an ugly expression. "What about Teach?" "I haven't been able to contact him for more than a month." Marco looked extremely solemn. Whitebeard took a deep breath and frowned. "Marco, in your opinion, who is most likely to attack our Whitebeard pirates?" "The most likely ones are of course Charlotte Linlin and Kaido. But..." Marco paused and said in a deep voice, "Unless they take action personally, there is no way they can kill Ace and Teach so quietly. If it is possible that Ace was accidentally tricked, then it is absolutely impossible for Teach. If Teach doesn't even have time to dial the phone, even Marine Admiral can't do it. Therefore, I infer that Teach may have arrived at a place where the phone signal cannot be connected. He probably wasn't killed by someone. Of course, there is another possibility. Quote, World Government." Whitebeard looked far away in the direction of the red line and was silent. Marco nodded and said, "Except for the World Government, I can't think of anyone else who has such strength." Whitebeard pondered for a while before he spoke. "Inform the captains of all major divisions to discuss matters aboard the Moby Dick, and ask them to keep their whereabouts secret as much as possible." "Okay, I get it." Marco walked out of the captain's cabin with a solemn expression. He raised his head and let out a long breath, thinking to himself, "Teach, Ace, don't let anything happen to you, otherwise, things will really get into trouble." Grand Line, the capital of the Seven Waters, outside the abandoned shipyard. Su su su. Following waves of sound similar to propellers moving airflow, 10 temple-sized black shadows slowly fell into the abandoned shipyard on Kaishusai City Street. Frankie, who was drinking and looking into the distance at the secret base, was startled, and his face as red as a monkey's butt revealed a look of shock and disbelief. "Hey, are you kidding me? Did Lousy hallucinate from drinking?" "Hurrah hula." Frankie quickly splashed himself with seawater to wake him up, and when he looked in that direction, it was still the same. "Brother, how do you decide?" Frankie's 2 younger sisters and younger brothers couldn't help but wonder when they saw his rude appearance. "Come on, Follow me to the abandoned shipyard in the back street. Frankie didn't say much, and immediately turned around and ran to the top of the secret base. All the younger brothers also followed with doubts on their faces. However, there was already a group of people waiting at that place before them. This group of people is clearly the current mayor of the Seven Rivers City, Bingshan, his secretary and several shipyard foremen. At this time, they were also looking at the huge ship falling from the sky with extremely solemn expressions. Phew, thief, ha 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 ha. Then, a tall figure flew down from the ship with his laughter, landed in front of the iceberg and said with a smile. You must be Mr. Iceberg, right? Let me meet you. My name is Marshall D. Teach. Of course, you can also call me Blackbeard directly. What? Bingshan's expression changed. The big pirate with a bounty of 250 million belly, Blackbeard. Yes, it's me. Blackbeard nodded in acknowledgement. When he finished speaking, the expressions of the people opposite him also changed suddenly. The leader, a man in blue overalls, immediately took out a rope knife, stared at Blackbeard warily and shouted. Protect Mr. Iceberg. Wow. The few people standing behind him immediately covered Bingshan's figure behind them. After seeing these people, Blackbeard suddenly felt very familiar. After careful identification for a while, he immediately recognized the people in front of him, Rob Lucci, Kaku, Khalifa, and the honest man Barry. Tisk. Seeing this scene, Blackbeard couldn't help but smile and said, Mr. Bingshan, I just asked you to come over and help me check the situation of the ship. There is no need for you to make such a big noise. Bingshan frowned and said, How do you have my private phone bug communication? Of course it was given to me by Mr. Tom's friend. What? Master's friend? Could it be? Bingshan's face was full of astonishment and shock. Blackbeard ignored the shocked iceberg, but shrugged and said, It's you, Mr. Bingshan. Wasn't Mr. Tom killed by people from the world government? Why do you seem to be quite close to them? I still have it with me at all times. Quote. What? Bingshan's expression changed after hearing this. Keep it with you at all times. What does this Blackbeard mean? Could it be that there are spies from the world government on his side? How is this possible? There is only Bingshan beside him now. But just thinking of this, Bingshan's face became a little ugly. Not only him, but the expressions of Khalifa, Kaku and Lucci beside him also changed suddenly, with shock and disbelief in their eyes. When were they exposed? Moreover, how could this Blackbeard know their information? Just a pirate. What nonsense are you talking about? Barry pointed the rope knife at Blackbeard and shouted. Lousy grew up in the capital of Seven Waters. How could he be a member of the world government? I'm not talking about you, Barry. What? How do you know my name? You are so suspicious. Blackbeard ignored Barry's words, but looked at Lucci and the three of them with a half smile. Seeing this, Kaku took the lead and stepped forward and shouted. Didn't you, a pirate, say you came to see the ship? Why do you still want to alienate the relationship between us and Mr. Bingshan? Bingshan's heart suddenly pounded at this moment. To be able to be the mayor of the Seven Waters City, his eyesight is not bad. The changes in the expressions of Lucci and the others had already been caught by his eyes. Are Dodge and the others really members of the world government? Are these guys really here? It's not a quarrel, it's just that I want to see if I can collect some important information from you CP9s. Blackbeard gets right to the point. CP9. Bingshan finally couldn't calm down anymore. He looked at Khalifa, Lucci and Kaku in disbelief. Khalifa, Lucci, Kaku. Daughter, you really from the CP organization? Hearing this, Khalifa looked at each other, Lucci and Kaku, and both of them sighed softly. Seeing this, Bingshan suddenly looked ugly. At this time, it was already clear without saying anything. Impossible, absolutely impossible, Barry shouted angrily. Hey, Khalifa, Kaku, Lucci, you guys should say something. Even though Barry was stupid, he realized it now and looked at the three people in disbelief. It seems the mission is going to fail. Kaku pulled down the brim of his hat and sighed helplessly. Lucci said indifferently, It doesn't matter, now we can only kill all these pirates and insiders first. As for the Pluton design, it will be good to extract a confession from Mr. Bingshan when the time comes. If that doesn't work, we will consider it later. That's all it can do. Kaku sighed again. Brother Barry, I'm sorry, finger pistol. As he spoke, he raised his index finger and stabbed Barry. Puff, puff. Barry dodged almost instinctively, but the next second, 2 bloody holes appeared on his shoulders, which immediately made him groan in pain and said with disbelief on his face, "Kaku, do you really want to kill me? Hey, why don't you just let me stab you in the heart, Barry? That will reduce the pain." The brim of Kaku's hat was slightly low, and the shadow covered his cheeks. Khalifa remained silent. Lucci on the side said indifferently, "Kaku, do you think I'm blind? Or do you think I can't see that you are holding back? It seems that the past few years of being undercover have indeed made you relax. Did you actually develop feelings for them? Khalifa, you too, you are such a careless guy. I'll do it myself." Quote. Kaku, Lucci you. Bingshan opened his mouth, but he couldn't say what he wanted to say. The faces of the people in front of him were exactly the same as those he saw more than 10 years ago. He would never forget the expressions of the people around him when Mr. Tom was taken away by Spandam. It was exactly the same as Lucci's expression at this time. Lucci had already walked up to the stunned Barry, and without hesitation, he raised his index finger and stabbed Barry in the heart. Finger pistol. Snapped. But at this moment, Lucci's wrist was directly grabbed by a big hand. Under the astonished eyes of Kaku, Khalifa and Lucci, Teach couldn't help but said in confusion, "No," I said, "why did you forget about me? I came to ask Bingshan to help me check the ship and decoration problems. If you kill the ship repairman for me, who should I ask for help?" "You." Lucci couldn't help but frown, looking at the tall pirate in front of him with some surprise. He was very surprised that the other party could keep up with the speed of his finger pistol. The butcher won't hold back when it comes to pirates. Kaku was only surprised for a moment, and then kicked Blackbeard mercilessly in the head. However, what flew out the next second was Kaku's body. Boom. Call out. Boom boom boom. Kaku groaned in pain and flew backwards for dozens of meters. He didn't stop until a long ravine was plowed into the ground of the scrap shipyard. What? Seeing this scene, Lucci and Khalifa exclaimed almost simultaneously. They did not expect that Blackbeard was so strong. With Kaku's speed, he's not even as fast as his opponent. Hey, why do you look so surprised?" Blackbeard said speechlessly. "You don't really think you are strong, do you? Even better than me? Don't be ridiculous, it's just CP9, why are you pretending to be such a big Israelite? Even the CPO wouldn't dare to make a mistake in front of me. See what you can do. Iceberg. Don't be ridiculous, brother, CP9 is really awesome." Just as Barry and Bingshan were brainstorming, they heard a series of laughter coming from above their heads. PFF'd. Ha 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 ha, the captain has been underestimated. I'm laughing so hard, Captain Teach, they didn't even look at you from the beginning to the end. Eyes. How dare you underestimate our Captain Teach, Bartolomeo, will hammer you to death. It's really interesting. Teach has been ignored for so long, and people even drink in front of him. I said, Captain, isn't this the strong man from Qinghai you mentioned? They don't look very good. I can kill them with one finger. Everyone subconsciously looked up and saw a door with a diameter of tens of meters exposed in the middle of the big ship above their heads. More than a dozen people were sitting or standing on the edge, looking at him with interest. Our situation here is a member of the Blackbeard pirates. Bingshan and Lucci also reacted. As soon as they glanced at it, everyone above them looked very powerful. Even though they couldn't tell the difference between strong and weak, there was one person among them that they couldn't ignore, that was the guy with blue lightning all over his body. Especially since it was dark at this time, the thunder and lightning on his body were even more eye-catching. Seeing this scene, Kaku, who had just gotten up and coughed up a mouthful of blood, suddenly exhaled. Logia ability user. The expressions of Lucci and Khalifa also became completely solemn. Blackbeard rolled his eyes and ignored these onlookers. Instead, he turned to look at Bingshan and said, "Mr. Bingshan, what do you want to do with these CP9s? I can do you a small favor first, and then I can ask you to check on the ship's condition for me during the day. How about that?" Can. Bingshan also calmed down at this time, glanced at Lucci and the others with complicated expressions and said, "Please Mr. Teach, please arrest them first. I have something to ask them later." Piece of cake. After Blackbeard finished speaking, he turned to look at the three people standing together, waved his hand casually and said, Shall I? Come on. Please call me God Enel, Captain. Enel's face darkened, but he still raised his hand and pointed directly at Lu Chi, Kaku and Khalifa below. 90 million volts, Brontosaurus, and 3 dragons bite and explode. Tisk. The next moment, under the horrified eyes of Lu Chi and the other three huge thunder dragons surged out from Enel's fingertips. Fuji Arima came directly in front of their masters. Devour them. Boom. It also caused a huge explosion. Seeing this scene, Blackbeard flew away with Bingshan and Barry directly, and shouted at Enel with a black face. I asked you to subdue them, but I didn't ask you to kill them. Enel rolled his eyes and said, I know, so the explosive power is concentrated on Rob Lucci, and it's almost evenly distributed. Blackbeard couldn't laugh or cry when he heard this. After the explosion subsided, I walked over and saw that Khalifa's beautiful blonde hair had been curled into an afro, and black smoke was coming out of her open red lips. Apparently he was badly shocked. The same goes for Kaku. Lucci was more miserable, with his whole body charred and black. He had turned into an animal before the explosion, but he was still bleeding. But this is nothing to those who practice the 6 styles. As long as they have enough food, they can recover quickly. After waving for Bartolomeo to tie them up, Blackbeard turned his head and looked in a certain direction of the scrap shipyard and said, Stop looking, I've discovered you a long time ago. Come out, I know you, Frankie. What, Frankie is here too? Bingshan turned his head in astonishment and looked in the direction Blackbeard was looking. Then he discovered that it was not just Frankie, but also a group of members of Frankie's family. His face darkened and he shouted, Frankie, are you involved in this kind of thing? Leave quickly. Just pretend that what happened here never happened. Fortunately, other people in CP didn't notice you. Stop joking, Iceberg. Frankie shouted. Those guys want to arrest you and torture you to extract a confession. How can I pretend that I didn't see it? Besides, who knows if they have accomplices, I might as well just kill them. D.A. Blackbeard patted Bingshan on the shoulder and said, It doesn't matter, Mr. Bingshan, don't be so nervous. I will take these guys away later and they won't affect you. Hearing this, Bingshan let out a sigh of relief, then looked at Blackbeard gratefully and said, Mr. Teach, thank you for today. Grateful for the iceberg, Blackbeard just waved his hand casually. After mutually agreeing to watch the boat here tomorrow, Bingshan and Frankie turned around and left together. But he didn't go back to his home today. Instead, he and Frankie entered his secret base. Blackbeard began to read the memories of Lucci and others. It's okay if it's not read. Once it's read, Blackbeard's heart immediately sank. Because he read the latest information that Lucci and the others recently received. Hashtag related to the issue of Fire Fist Ace's execution and the battle with the Whitebeard pirates. The world line is really over. Now that Rob Lucci, Kaku and Khalifa were taken care of, Blackbeard might as well take care of Bluno as well. After all, these guys currently possess very important information. Although he already had some suspicions, the fact that Ace had been captured by the world government still touched him. It seems like the Summit War is really about to begin. The information obtained from Bluno is exactly the same. As for how to deal with Rob Lucci and others, he has already thought about it, and first uses the ability of mind-locking technique to control them. Anyway, controlling these guys doesn't take much energy. He even plans to control all members of CP9 through Rob Lucci. These guys can at least be considered good cadres. If trained properly in the future, it can still be used as a good combat force. Naturally, Blackbeard cannot always use mind-locking technique to control them, he already has a plan. Because through Rob Lucci's information, he learned that just 2 days later, a celestial dragon's ship that was out for fun would return to the Red Line through the Gate of Justice behind Annie's lobby. Now that he has decided to attack the big one, Blackbeard decided to attack celestial dragons first. After formulating the plan, Blackbeard summoned everyone in the black group and revealed his plan. Nani, you want to capture the celestial dragons? Captain, are you kidding me? Ha 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 ha, he is indeed the man I admire, Captain Teach. As you said, I will take the lead in the charge. Why ha 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 ha, Captain, you are really scaring people to death. Do you want to attack the descendants of the god of creation? I like it so much. You guys, Teach, can I know why? You should not be the kind of person who makes aimless remarks. Enel was very confused when he saw everyone in the black group looking like they were facing a formidable enemy. These guys have never been so nervous when facing each other on Sky Island. What's wrong with attacking celestial dragons? Are those celestial dragons special? Enel asked directly what was on his mind. Only then did everyone remember that Enel didn't know about this yet. Robin briefly explained to Enel what celestial dragons represents in this world. Ha 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 ha. But after listening to this, Enel was even more excited than Bartolomeo, and said with lightning all over his body, Captain Teach, you are indeed a man worthy of my following. Just like before, pull this so-called god off the altar. This is what makes you exciting and worthy of me. Enel calls you captain. Quote, thief ha 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 ha. Blackbeard laughed when he heard this. What a bunch of careless guys, they are indeed Lousy's partners. As I make some plans, our Blackbeard pirates will be on the world stage in a few days. My little ones, the time to make a name for yourself is about to come. Are you qualified to say that people are inconsiderate? Robin couldn't help but be speechless for a moment after hearing this. She was extremely nervous when she saw CP9 before, but in the blink of an eye, the CP9 that frightened her was easily killed. Only then did she realize how powerful her pirate group was. At this time, after seeing that Enel wanted to attack the celestial dragons after her popularization, she was just speechless. She found that not only had she become stronger in the past 2 months, but her mentality seemed to be different. This would certainly not have been the case before. In fact, in the past 2 months, during the training on Sky Island, it was not just Robin who became stronger. With Blackbeard, a powerful captain who is also a grandmaster, guiding the training, whether it is ability development, hockey, or the training of Marine 6 styles, everyone in the black group has improved rapidly. Especially in a place like Sky Island that is naturally suitable for practicing observation hockey and taijutsu. It can be said that except for Carmen's 2 useless apprentices, all members of the black group have mastered observation hockey. And those magic soldiers who followed Enel on Sky Island. Blackbeard also selected 100 of the most elite people and personally taught them how to practice Marine 6 styles and hockey. Coupled with the observation hockey they have mastered, they are already extremely high-quality warriors. Although Blackbeard, the other magic weapon, did not teach him personally, he also handed over the training methods of Marine 6 styles and hockey to them and let them practice together with Webb and Ganfer. Sky Island has now become the secret training base for the soldiers of the Blackbeard pirates. As for the cadres of the black group, apart from the fact that they have the power of knowledge and color, Enel, Badgers, Crow, Bartolomeo, and the swordsman Ohm, one of the priests, have all awakened armament hockey. What makes Blackbeard most gratified is that Enel has shown signs of awakening Conqueror's hockey. Should he be called the god of Sky Island? Because he broke out once by chance, but it's not stable yet. Coupled with the special training given to him by Blackbeard, Enel's physical body and physical skills have also been upgraded to a higher level, and the fruit's ability level has also been upgraded to a higher level. Now Enel's strongest Thunder God move has been upgraded to 500 million volts, barely giving him the appearance of a royal deputy. Van Oka has also completely mastered armament hockey, wrapping armament hockey around bullets, and he can injure even Enel. It's just not as fast as Enel. But Van Oka's observation hockey is not bad either, and coupled with the control of Marine 6 styles, his strength is also improving rapidly. If Van Oka and Badgers want to go further, they need the most suitable devil fruit to help them go further. Blackbeard hasn't thought about Van Oka's fruit ability yet, but he has already thought about Badger's fruit ability. It is the one currently in New World Punk Hazard, the devil fruit copied by Vegapunk, Zone Fish Fruit Phantom Beast Species Blue Dragon form. According to the previous life of the plot, this fruit should have been eaten by Momonosuke 2 years later. Although Vegapunk is said to be a failure, the color is just different. For Badgers, more than enough. Blackbeard plans to go to Punk Hazard himself to get the devil fruit back after killing the celestial dragons. In this case, the basic overall strength of the black group is not weaker than the 4 Emperors group. The weakest members of the team are probably Nami and Carmen, but even their strength cannot be underestimated. Nami has also mastered observation hockey, and learned Marine 6 style shave and moonwalk, which is a huge improvement compared to the original plot in the previous life. Carmen has also mastered observation hockey and the shave of the 6 styles, except of course her 2 useless apprentices. If it weren't for the lack of too many materials needed for arc proverbs on Sky Island and the complete shutdown of the traveler's clock on Sky Island, Blackbeard would not be willing to come down so quickly. No way, Sky Island is really the best place to awaken observation hockey. Although everyone in the Black group has made huge improvements in the past 2 months, the one who has improved the most is Blackbeard himself. On the second day of training, Blackbeard used the expansion ability of Traveler's Clock to help him awaken Dark Fruit. At that time, the endless darkness enveloped the entire Sky Island, and then stretched for hundreds of kilometers, like dark clouds covering the sky. It looked extremely shocking. After Dark Fruit awakened, Blackbeard gained 2 more abilities. He named it Tengai Shinsei and Shinra Tensei. The so-called Tengai Shinsei uses strong gravity to capture meteorites from outer space and pull them out of the universe to attack the opponent. The so-called Shinra Tensei uses the amount of repulsion that coexists with gravity between molecules to repel all people or things that are close to it. Just like Tengai Shinsei uses gravity, Shinra Tensei uses the large repulsion contained in gravity, destroy. As a hardcore ocean fan, it's normal to like to use Hokage's name as a unique name, right? After Dark Fruit awakens, not only do these 2 moves become available, but other moves are also enhanced. Moreover, Blackbeard can feel that Dark Fruit's abilities are still improving, and awakening is not the end of the fruit's abilities. He can still vaguely feel the darkness and it can be more subtle. Of course, the higher depth of fruit control is not something he can currently reach. Sky Island provided Blackbeard with a total of 5 accumulated ticks of the Traveler's Clock. 3 of them were used for the awakening of Dark Fruit, and the remaining 2 scales he originally wanted to use to upgrade Conqueror's Hockey to the level of domination, but it was not enough. Requires the same 3 awakening scales as Dark Fruit. It can only be said that Batang's level is higher than he thought. Blackbeard didn't care about this, and directly added the last 2 scales to Observation Hockey, because they could only be added to Observation Hockey. Armament Hockey also needs 3 scales. Therefore, Blackbeard's observation hockey at this time has also been upgraded to the level of predicting the future. Coupled with the special degree of his own observation color, the intensity of his observation color has definitely reached a very high level now. After that, there is still the development of Munch Munch Fruit. Since Munch Munch Fruit currently only has 2 restrictions on the ability to devour others or the ability to obtain Devil Fruit, he does not dare to devour it randomly. In particular, he felt that in the short term the main focus was on improving strength, so he did not develop Munch Munch Fruit for the time being. To develop it, at least he has to devour and acquire an ability before developing it. He had tried before. If he wanted to expand the ability of the ability-devouring person, he would need 3 Traveler's Clock ticks, so it was impossible for him to do it at this time. Moreover, there was Conquerors waiting for food, and he didn't want to waste the ticks on the Traveler's Clock. Of course, with his current proficiency in Conquerors, if there is no chance, give him a year or 2, and then fight more powerful people, he will still be very confident in mastering Conqueror's entanglement. But judging from the previous information about Ace's arrest, it was obvious that he didn't have that much time. The world government must have secretly hidden Ace after capturing him. Until recently, it was mobilizing CP agencies around the world to let them pay attention to any movements of the Whitebeard pirates. It's been a few months since Ace was captured, and it's clear that world government is getting ready. I'm afraid it won't be long before the world government announces Ace's execution. Thinking of this, Blackbeard was very happy that his decision was right. As expected, the most important thing was to improve his strength in a short period of time. Another point worth mentioning is that he has completely mastered the true meaning of the swordsmanship of Sephiroth, the demon sword among the 7-star swords, which has raised his swordsmanship level to the level of a great swordsman and mastered the same demon sword as Sephiroth. It can be said that this kind of progress can be achieved so quickly only because of the conditions of the 7-star sword initiation. After all, Blackbeard has become the master of the 7-star sword. After being in contact day and night, and under the influence of the Blessing Fruit's awakening ability, the true meaning of the sword in the 7-star sword, hockey, etc. It is blessing Blackbeard little by little. If it is an ordinary person or a person who is too weak, like the Marine Rear Admiral World Takashi, he will be controlled by the monster of the 7-star sword. On the contrary, being as powerful as Blackbeard will actually enhance the host's strength. For example, Blackbeard has been promoted to the level of a great swordsman in half a year, which is simply sensational. If other swordsmen heard this news, they would probably go crazy with jealousy. In the plot of the previous life, Zoro's friend went from being an ordinary swordsman to being controlled by the 7-star sword, and directly became a swordsman-level being who can easily cut out sword energy with one slash. You can see the power of 7-star sword Yamato's monster. In any case, at least for now, everything about the 7-star sword is beneficial to Blackbeard, and it is completely in his hands. In this regard, Blackbeard also had to lament the mystery of devil fruit. This thing, which is similar to a magic weapon for inheritance, is simply a weapon for the inheritance of sects in the world of Shenxia. All I can say is that I made a lot of money. With his current strength, he is no longer weak against a Marine Admiral. Even facing the 4 emperors, he felt that he could still win 50-50. Of course, if he had to sit up all the time, he still couldn't do it. If he wasn't worried about whether there might be something else wrong with the fish fruit copied by Vegapunk, he would have eaten the fruit himself. But after careful consideration, Blackbeard still felt it was better to be cautious. Anyway, I have the ability darkness of stealing gods, why are I still worried about finding a good phantom beast species? The next day, after giving the arc proverbs to Bingshan and Frankie, Blackbeard led the black group cadres and the 4 people he controlled, Lucci, Kaku, Khalifa and Bluno, to control. A small boat took off directly towards Eni's lobby. In the middle of the process, Blackbeard used Lucci's contact information to date all the other members of CP9, and then took control again after a beating. As a result, all the biggest bosses in the early stage of the previous life's plot fell into his hands. It satisfies Teach's collecting habit. As for CP9's sentencing, after this incident there is no need to worry at all. Because Li Nuo, their trip was to capture the celestial dragons. I would like to ask, is it possible that CP9, who participated in the operation to capture the celestial dragons, will be trusted by the world government and the celestial dragons? What should this hand be called in water margin? Teach hunts celestial dragons and earns CP9 to board the pirate ship. Thinking of something inconspicuous, Blackbeard and his party were suspended directly in the sky above the celestial dragon's forward route. After Nami determined the location, he stopped here. While everyone was discussing excitedly, Enel and Blackbeard smiled at the same time. Because they could already feel that a large and extremely luxurious ship was slowly sailing in the direction of Eni's lobby. However, Blackbeard's smile immediately turned a little solemn, because as soon as he had seen and heard, the people on the ship were all famous. There are also many slaves who are pressed in the cabin below, and they are tortured in all kinds of miserable ways, which is unbearable to describe. As expected, celestial dragons are all a bunch of scum. Enel noticed this situation and licked the corner of his mouth and said. Compared to him, this god is kind-hearted. Captain, what you said is indeed true. Is this kind of pig worthy of being called a descendant of the Creator? Blackbeard laughed loudly, raised his hand, and the ship in the sky flew directly in the direction of the celestial dragon's ship. At the same time, he said coldly, Enel, disrupt all magnetic fields and electromagnetic fluctuations within a radius of dozens of kilometers, and don't let any phone bug waves come in. Enel transformed into thunder and rushed into the sky and laughed. Leave it to me, Captain. Sizzling. Just the next moment, there was endless thunder flashing in the sky. Enemy attack. Bang. The CP members on the Celestial Dragon's ship ahead also noticed something strange and immediately raised the alarm. Blackbeard stood on the bow of the ship, arms spread wide, and endless darkness surged out from behind, laughing. Thief, ha 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 ha. Kids, follow me. It's time to knock the Celestial Dragons off their pedestal. Almost immediately after discovering the strange blue thunder and lightning in the sky, 5 people from the CP agency on the large ship Celestial Dragon stepped on the moonwalk and soared into the sky towards Blackbeard and the others. At the same time, the loud shouts of the 5 people also sounded in the sky. Able to control ships to fly. Could it be the Golden Lion? No, how could Golden Lion's pirate ship be so small? And the pirate on the bow is not him either. He might just be some kind of strange ability user. How presumptuous. You lowly pirates, do you know who you are attacking? Wait a minute, that guy on the bow is Blackbeard Marshal D. Teach, how come this guy is here? Blackbeard, that pirate supernova. You are really looking for death, just kill him. However, in the face of the scolding of a group of CP agents, the flying ship from the opposite side had no intention of stopping and actually rammed directly towards them. Tempest Kick Guy Bird. Air Cannon. Tempest Kick Cut the Wind and Rain. Finger Pistol Madara. Finger Pistol Storm. Swish swish swish. After seeing Blackbeard and the others, the CP agents showed no intention of stopping and began to attack without mercy. Dozens of Tempest Kick slashes and finger pistol attacks came at them like a violent storm. From these attacks, it can be seen that the strength of these CP organizations is not weak, and it is estimated that they are all members of the CPO. Each of their blows has the destructive power to easily destroy the pirate ship under the feet of everyone in the Black Group. At this time, the attacks of 5 people gathered together, which indeed had a strong sense of oppression. However, in the face of this devastating attack, Blackbeard, who was standing on the bow of the ship, just waved his hand. Su. Endless darkness suddenly spewed out, turning into a sky-covering hand and grabbing at those attacks, swallowing up all the attacks coming from the front in the blink of an eye. The overwhelming attack before suddenly disappeared in the sky. The expressions of the 5 CPO members who saw this scene changed. What kind of ability is this? How could my air cannon be ineffective? Another tricky ability user. Before these CPO members could react, Blackbeard grinned and calmly uttered 2 words. Liberation. Swish swish swish. The next second, the giant palm that covered the sky suddenly spit out the attack it had swallowed before, directly hitting the 5 CPOs who were in shock. Bang bang bang. At such a close range, the 5 CPO members had no time to react and were directly hit by their respective attacks, causing them to be blasted from the sky into the sea. Boom boom boom. Seeing this, Blackbeard just smiled casually and steered the abandoned ship to directly break the mast of the Celestial Dragons, a huge and luxurious ship. Young ones, come on. Kill all the agents of these CP agencies. Thief ha ha ha, underscore. Standing on the bow of the ship, looking down at the panicked CP agents below, Blackbeard suddenly laughed wildly, like a villain in a picture book. What, is he the pirate villain? That's okay. Oh. On the other hand, Bartolomeo, Badgers, Crow and others all rushed forward with great excitement. Tisk. At this moment, a blue electric arc fell from the sky. Enel also arranged his own abilities and came to join in the fun and began to join the battle group. Even Poison Q, who was not very interested in fighting before, now joined in the killing. This large ship protecting the Celestial Dragons had at least 100 CP agency guards on the deck, and Blackbeard and the others discovered that there were hundreds of tortured slaves below the deck. This is also the reason why everyone in the Black Group is so vicious. For a moment, blood was splattered on the deck, and screams and wailing could be heard endlessly. Bang bang bang. At this time, the 5 CPO members who had been blown away by Blackbeard's attack also rushed up from the sea again. 3 of them were still walking on the moonwalk, and the other 2 should be ability users, and were now being held in the hands of their respective partners. Blackbeard, do you know what you are doing? The CPO no longer dared to underestimate Blackbeard. He just walked on the moonwalk and shouted at Blackbeard in the sky and asked. This is the ship of Celestial Dragons Charlos Saint. Do you want your pirate group to be completely destroyed by Marine Admiral? We have notified Marine that it won't be long before Marine Admiral will come to add more people. If you don't want to die, run away for your life. Blackbeard laughed and said, Inform Marine. How do you notify? The magnetic field and electromagnetic waves within a radius of dozens of kilometers have been disrupted by my partner. None of your messages can be sent. As for the Celestial Dragons you're talking about, Labor and management are fighting the Celestial Dragons. Boom. Just as Blackbeard finished speaking, the door to the cabin in the middle of the large ship was suddenly pushed open. Then an ugly fat pig wearing something like a space suit angrily walked out of it and yelled at the fighting people. Can you untouchables please be quiet? It was so noisy that the god and the slave were not happy playing inside. Hey CPO, what's going on now? Why are there so many strange untouchables here? Is he a newly captured slave? After Saint Charlos suddenly appeared, the faces of the CPO members changed drastically, and they suddenly had a bad feeling in their hearts. Whoosh! Sure enough, in the next moment, Blackbeard, who was still standing on the bow of the ship, appeared next to Charlos in the blink of an eye. He raised his hand and slapped him with a big ear scratcher. Why don't you call me Celestial Dragons? Snapped. Whoosh! Boom! Blackbeard didn't use any strength at all with this move, but he still smashed the Celestial Dragon's helmet with a slap and knocked out half of his teeth. Ah! After St. Charles was slapped away, the entire deck fell silent for a moment, leaving only his shrill howl. As for the black group, although they had been mentally prepared, they did not expect their captain to be so fierce. Facing the Celestial Dragons who can call the Marine Admiral at any time, it is a big mouth. Moreover, they could also see that their captain had obviously deliberately held back, just to torture the Celestial Dragons. Otherwise, they know the strength of their captain, and one slap is enough to kill such a pig. You untouchables, how dare you take action against me, a god? I'm going to call the Marine Admiral to kill you all. Quick, CPD you losers, give me 4 Marines, ah. Before Charros finished speaking, there was a click sound, and his right hand was directly broken off by Blackbeard's kick. Blackbeard bent down, took out his ears and said, "Who were you calling just now? I didn't hear you clearly." Marine, big ah ah. As soon as Charros' holy words came out, there was another click, and he remembered that his right leg was also stepped on by Blackbeard, and he suddenly let out another scream. Blackbeard, you are seeking death. Release St. Charles. You hurt St. Charles today. Even if Whitebeard comes, he can't protect you. The 3 CPOs in the distance could only be helpless and furious. After all, St. Charles is still in Blackbeard's hands, and they don't dare to move at all. Thief, ha 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 ha. Blackbeard burst out laughing when he heard this, and at the same time, the terrifying Conqueror's hockey swept over the entire audience. Those members of the CP organization in black suits who were still resisting rolled their eyes and passed out one by one. There are only a few members of the CP organization in black suits who can still stand while taking a breath. The expressions of the CPOs in the sky also changed drastically. They never thought that a mere pirate supernova would possess such a powerful conqueror's hockey. You don't think I will fight an unprepared battle, do you? Blackbeard looked at the 5 CPO members with a ferocious smile on his face and said, "As long as I kill you all, who knows that the Celestial Dragons were captured by me? Kill them for me, kids." When the 5 CPO members heard this, their hearts suddenly sank. They originally thought they just met the Blackbeard pirates by chance, but now it seems that they are coming for the Celestial Dragons. I'm afraid today will be very unlucky. Unless one of them can escape, they will surely die. But the Blackbeard pirates obviously won't let them escape. Almost as soon as Blackbeard finished speaking, Enel, Badgers, Bartolomeo, Crow and Poison all activated their ultimate moves and attacked Crow. Blackbeard didn't hold back, and directly raised his hand to grab it in the air. The 2 ability users among the CPO were sucked into his hands. Then he knocked the 2 CPOs who had lost their strength due to the disappearance of their abilities and hit each other hard several times, and then threw them into the sea. No one has time to save them at this time, waiting for these 2 CPUs to end up being drowned in sea water. Of course, with their powerful bodies, they would not be drowned for a while, but they could also directly reduce the combat power of the 2. It's not too late to concoct them after the fact. After all, they are 2 ability users, so they cannot be wasted. The remaining 3 CPOs were quickly and completely defeated under the siege of Enel and others. Enel easily killed one by himself. With his powerful knowledge, there was no need to engage in close combat with the CPO who was a strong physical expert. A direct long-range attack would be enough to defeat them in seconds. This is also the fighting method Blackbeard taught Enel on Sky Island for 2 months. Thunderfruit's attack power is the strongest in Logia, and its power goes without saying. Coupled with his powerful observation hockey, which has been enhanced by Thunderfruit, he is basically invincible as long as he does not encounter a master whose observation skills are stronger than his own. In terms of speed, Enel is not weaker than Kizaru's Sparkling Fruit, but in terms of output, it is much better than Kizaru. If a user with such a high output and fast ability does not take the long-range turret route, it would be a shame for Enel, who is a natural mage. After absorbing the tactics Blackbeard provided him, even Blackbeard couldn't catch up with Enel in terms of speed. This made Enel very proud at first. During the sparring with Blackbeard, he tried to defeat Blackbeard using kiting tactics. But Enel didn't expect that Blackbeard's universal pull would be his nemesis. As long as Blackbeard couldn't see Enel's tail, he could directly suck him over. Originally, Dark Fruit was the nemesis of Demon Fruit power, and it has strong adsorption power to Demon Fruit power. The Dark Water move, Universal Pull, which has been strengthened by Traveler's Clock, is naturally a bit stronger. In addition, after the Blackbeard Fruit ability is awakened, it is impossible for anyone with abilities to resist Blackbeard's suction. Unless the opponent is equal to him in strength, or is stronger than him, the suction force can be greatly reduced. But it will still have an impact. If Blackbeard catches his body, even if it is a Marine Admiral, his abilities will be invalidated. Blackbeard had tested this with Whitebeard before the fruit had awakened. So he is still very confident about this. It took the Black Group members half an hour to completely resolve the battle and kill all the CP members on the ship. Then Blackbeard used the Dark Sky to suck their corpses into the black hole space, and used gravity to tear them into dust in the universe. In this way, the corpse destruction and traces were easily completed. As for the slaves under the ship, these slaves were liberated after the Black Group looted all the 2 billion belly on the ship. But when they came to the deck, they could only see the deck stained red with blood, and the ship was empty except for slaves like them. Wow! But before these slaves could rejoice, they felt that the celestial dragon's ship under their feet actually broke away from the sea and soared into the sky for 9 days. 1 day later, Sky Island. Under Blackbeard's arrangement, Ganfer and Webb brought the magic soldiers and Sandian soldiers to the White Sea to take the helpless slaves to Sky Island. This way you don't have to worry about them leaking secrets. Blackbeard had some concerns about St. Charos's treatment. Naturally, if you catch a celestial dragons rarely, you should make good use of it. What's more, since Ace's execution is about to be publicized, he must first make something happen to make the world government scramble for a while. After coming off Sky Island, Blackbeard took out the phone number to contact Marco and dialed over voltage. The call had just been dialed here, and Marco on the other side of the phone answered the call almost instantly, and then came his intrusive questioning. Teach, where have you been lately? I called you several times before but there was no signal. Ha 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 ha, Marco, you don't have to worry about this. I went to Sky Island. It's normal to have no signal at an altitude of 10,000 meters. Have you been to Sky Island too? What Roger said. Bah, forget it, now is not the time to talk about this. I have something important to tell you. After finishing speaking, Marco explained to Blackbeard the analysis that Ace's collapse was most likely caused by the world government. He also said that he originally thought Blackbeard had been captured as well. Now I can breathe a sigh of relief. Blackbeard pondered for a moment and said, Marco, I just got some information about Ace's disappearance. You go to Dad and I will tell you what I know. What? Okay, I'll go find Dad right away. Marco immediately rushed to Whitebeard's captain's cabin. Under the latter's doubtful eyes, he raised the phone in his hand and said, Dad, it's Teach on the phone, he said he has news about Ace. What? Whitebeard sat up from the boat with a crash. He didn't even care that all the IVs hanging on his body were unplugged. He stared at the phone and said in a deep voice, Teach, you say. Blackbeard pondered for 2 seconds and then said, Dad, I arrested a group of CP9 and CPO members 2 days ago, and learned from them that Ace has indeed been secretly arrested by the world government. And those people are Ace who squatted on Battleira Island. So I have some doubts, why do these people want to squat Ace? If the world government wants to attack us, the Whitebeard pirates, and want to cut off the wings of our beard pirates one by one, they should not pick Ace, who is most likely to escape. After all, he is a user with Logia Mera Mera fruit ability, so he can fly away if he cannot be beaten. Moreover, I have been traveling outside for so long and I have not seen anyone from the CP agency come to arrest me. As for the CP members I caught, it's another matter and has nothing to do with Ace's matter. That's why I'm confused. Quote, having said this, Blackbeard paused. He also wanted to test Whitebeard, and immediately spoke. Dad, does Ace have any special identity? After a long moment of silence on the other side of the phone, Whitebeard sighed and said, Ace is Roger's son. Marco on the side, as well as the people in the black group around Blackbeard, all changed their expressions. But Blackbeard's next words made everyone scream in surprise. Okay, Dad, then I want to quit the Whitebeard Pirates. Did you really say it? Blackbeard actually didn't expect Whitebeard to confess to him. But since Whitebeard said it, it proves that he completely trusts him. From the exclamation of Marco on the opposite side of the phone before, he knew that Marco was originally unaware of this information. Now that Whitebeard has told him, it means that he really treats him as a family member. Blackbeard felt a little complicated, but also a little relieved. Lao Bai can handle this. It's not in vain that he made this move to hunt celestial dragons. I understand, this makes sense. After saying that, Blackbeard was silent for a few seconds and then said something that was not surprising. Okay, Dad, I want to quit the Whitebeard Pirates. Nani. As soon as these words came out, not only everyone in the black group, but also Marco and even Whitebeard couldn't help but exclaimed in shock. Teach, do you know what you are talking about? Marco roared angrily. Whitebeard, who was originally angry, suddenly frowned. After pondering for a few seconds, he calmly said, Teach, I want to know why you did this. I captured the celestial dragons, just a day ago. Blackbeard spoke directly. Hiss. Opposite the phone bug, Marco gasped. Whitebeard was silent for 2 seconds, and then laughed out loud. You la. Teach, you are really desperate. You actually dare to capture celestial dragons. But you, this guy, always have your own opinions. First you captured the celestial dragons, and now you're telling me this, you must have your own plans, right? Can you tell Daddy? Certainly. Blackbeard grinned and said. Since the world government dares to arrest Ace, my brother, and friend, then I will make them pay the price. But don't worry, Dad, I won't fight without preparation. I learned from government agents like CPO and CP9 that they had captured Ace a long time ago. The reason why they never announced it was because of our Whitebeard Pirates. World governments have begun deployment months in advance. So I guess that this time the government is probably trying to use the public execution of Ace to force the Whitebeard Pirates to go to naval headquarters to rescue people. Then they set up a dragnet and the medical saint Ace destroyed the Whitebeard Pirates again. This will enhance the prestige of the world government and marine, and prepare and pave the way for them to eliminate pirates in the future. Quote. After hearing Blackbeard's analysis, the expressions of Whitebeard and Marco also changed. In their opinion, what Teach said was absolutely correct. Why else would they have caught Ace months ago but not announced it yet? The target is probably their Whitebeard Pirates. Whitebeard didn't have a good strategy at this time, so he immediately said. So Teach, what do you think? This is one of the reasons why I quit the Whitebeard Pirates. Blackbeard groaned. I'm going to use this celestial dragons to cause a scene before the world government announces the public execution of Ace. Then he announced his withdrawal from the Whitebeard Pirates and would compete for the position of the New World 4 Emperors in the future. After I attract attention, Dad, you guys will have more time to make preparations. Dad, I know your temper very well. So, I don't advise you either. But there is one thing I must remind you. I hope my father will tell his other captains about Ace's identity. Otherwise, I'm worried that someone will use this matter to drive a wedge between us, the Whitebeard Pirates. For example, there were some pirate groups who might have had a grudge against Roger. If you are not careful, you may leave a grudge in the other person's heart. Next comes war. Since the marine side wants to kill our Whitebeard Pirates, they will definitely use all possible means. I have to be extremely careful when it comes to my brother's full name. Hearing Blackbeard's words, Whitebeard and Marco also fell into deep thought. After thinking about it for a while, Whitebeard and Marco had to sigh at Teach's thoughtfulness. After pondering for a moment, Whitebeard said in a deep voice. Teach, you are right to be concerned, I almost forgot about this situation before. In this situation, if Marine really knows the secret of Ace's identity, there is absolutely no way he can keep it secret from the public. It's even possible that they were so cautious just because they knew Ace's secret. If we didn't tell others here, it might have caused a very serious situation. That's it. When Blackbeard saw Lao Bai listening to the advice, he also smiled. When everyone goes to Marineford, I will also bring my partners to help out. There will definitely be a surprise for you then. Want to execute Ace? Want to take down our Whitebeard pirates? Then I'll just walk around in circles without the world government being able to eat it. Both Whitebeard and Marco felt Teach's anger, and they also agreed with Blackbeard's plan in their hearts. Then, Marco said in a deep voice, Teach, you must keep this phone bug well. If it is in danger, notify me immediately. No matter where you are, I can get there quickly. Teach, remember, we are family for life. Blackbeard had a smile on his face. Ah, I know Marco. After that, he obtained the phone numbers of several kings in the underground world from Whitebeard, and then agreed on a date for the incident and a follow-up statement from the Whitebeard pirates before hanging up the phone. Inside the cabin, Whitebeard smiled and shook his head. This guy Teach, can't you really see that he has such a crazy side, hunting celestial dragons? It seems that he also had a bad past in the Valley of the Gods. Marco's face hardened. Teach once mentioned to me that he has been an experimental subject of celestial dragons since he was a child. Whitebeard's face surged with anger when he heard this, but then he suppressed it forcefully and said in a deep voice, Marco, go ahead, call all the captains, and get the rash. Yes. Marco turned and left. After watching the cabin door close, Whitebeard let out a long breath, and after a while he chuckled. Gu la la la. Roger, it seems that this time may be Lao Wei's last battle. Being able to leave without regrets is still possible on such a big world stage. This should be a fitting way for me, the legendary pirate, to end, right? Don't worry, Ace. Laozi will definitely save him. At the same time, the capital of Seven Waters. The temporary residence of the Blackbeard pirates. After hearing Blackbeard's plan before, everyone in the Blackbeard pirate group was confused. But soon, Enel, a guy who had no idea about the four emperors' Whitebeard pirates, immediately became excited. Ha ha ha, Captain, your plan is great. What kind of rubbish are these celestial dragons? You just have to trample them under your feet to get across. So, Captain, what's your next plan? Enel looked at Blackbeard expectantly. Everyone in the black group had completely recovered from the shock at this time, and they all looked at Blackbeard curiously. After the latter looked around at everyone, his smile gradually became wilder. The plan is to execute the celestial dragons in a week. Everyone in the black group was stunned. Although they knew that their captain wanted to make something big happen, they never thought that he would dare to be so bold. Executing celestial dragons. Once this unprecedented threshold opens, the world will go berserk, right? It's simply too crazy. Among the people in the black group, Robin, Nami, and Carmen, as well as Carmen's two useless apprentices, all turned pale at this time. They never imagined that Blackbeard would do this. Why do this? Robin quickly figured out the key. Reconnecting with what their captain and Whitebeard said before, they immediately understood. Since the world government wants to kill the Whitebeard pirates, then his own captain will take the lead. Nami was still a little frightened at this time and said tentatively, Teach, can't we trade the celestial dragons we caught for Ace? Swish. Everyone else looked over at the same time when they heard Nami's words. In their opinion, this method is very feasible. If you trade celestial dragons for Ace, world government will make a profit no matter how you look at it. Before Blackbeard could speak, Robin shook his head and said coldly, Impossible. Although the celestial dragons are very noble, it is absolutely impossible for the 5 people sitting on the seat of the Lord of the World to agree to this condition. Why, Robin-chan? Nami was very puzzled. Others were also puzzled. Robin sighed and said, Ace is the son of Roger, the Pirate King. The world government first executed the Pirate King Roger, which resulted in the Great Pirate Age. In order to make up for this mistake, Ace has become a very important part. That's why the world government has been searching for Roger's bloodline all these years. Now Ace is caught. This gives the world government the opportunity not only to make up for its mistakes, but also to complete the encirclement and suppression of the Whitebeard pirates after executing Ace. This will greatly enhance the prestige of marine and world government. How could the world government's plans that had been laid out for months be scrapped just because of one celestial dragons? Otherwise, the captain would not have done such a crazy thing as executing the celestial dragons. Quote, ha ha ha. Blackbeard put his arm around Robin's shoulders and smiled. My parents are the ones who gave birth to me, and Robin is the one who knows me. Robin rolled his eyes when he heard this, while Nami puffed up her cheeks. Crow on the side pushed up his glasses with the back of his hand, and said with excitement in his eyes. The most important thing is, this celestial dragons is nothing more than a pig. There are many such celestial dragons in the Holy Land. How could the 5 elders give up the chance to make world government great again because of this pig? Snapped. Blackbeard snapped his fingers and smiled. Exactly. Don't think that the 5 elders are crazy just because they are 5 old men. These 5 old guys are most likely to have undergone immortality surgery. Their strength is even more unfathomable. Celestial dragons of this level, do you think they would look down on rubbish like St. Charlo's? Hiss. Everyone couldn't help but gasped. Immortal surgery. Enel showed his trademark shocked expression. Does this kind of surgery really exist? Crow's face was full of enthusiasm at this time. Badgies. Ha 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 ha. It turns out that only the strong are worthy of ruling this world. Bartolomeo. Since the captain said so, it must be there. Poison Q. It's really scary. If those 5 old men are really immortal, how strong will they be? Fan Oka. The eternal controller of the world. It's really despairing to think about it. Does such a person really exist? Robin. To some extent it's possible. Whoosh. As soon as Robin said this, everyone's eyes fell on her again. Robin didn't hide anything and told everything he knew. I once saw a complete devil fruit illustrated book in the Tree of Omniscientity, which introduced a devil fruit called Op fruit. People with abilities who eat this devil fruit can use up their own lives to complete an immortal surgery for others. It is possible for people who have had immortality surgery to gain immortality. Hiss. After getting the affirmative answer, everyone once again took advantage of the little air conditioning left. Blackbeard grinned and said, there is no doubt that those 5 old men are the ones who have undergone immortality surgery. When I was very young, I once met one of these 5 old men in the Valley of the Gods. Decades have passed, and the information I got is that they are still the same as before, without any change. Quote. The people in the black group fell silent at this time. After a long time, Enel sighed. So, it's not an exaggeration to call them gods, right? It's really not an exaggeration. Crow agreed. Others remained silent. Blackbeard suddenly laughed out loud at this time. So, isn't the purpose of our Blackbeard pirates to bring down the gods? In a week we will take the first step. We will tell the world. Celestial dragons also bleed, fear, and wail. Celestial dragons, if killed, will die. We're going to knock celestial dragons off their pedestal. 1 week from now, it's time for our Blackbeard pirates to appear on the world stage. The eyes of everyone in the black group suddenly became hot. This week was not wasted on Blackbeard. First, an uninhabited island in the Calm Belt was selected as the execution site for the celestial dragons. After that, I contacted the News King, Morgans, the Shipping King, Deep Current Umit, the King of Loan Sharks, Du Fisher, the King of Killers, Dorag Picro, and Queen, a CP member of World Government, of the Pleasure District Stussy. Inform them that there will be a worldwide live broadcast in a week. This live broadcast will be led by Morgans, the president of the New Territories News Agency. Being the crazy newsman that he is, Blackbeard only told Morgans about the live broadcast of the Celestial Dragons, but not that he was going to live broadcast Morgans' execution. Otherwise, he was worried that Morgans, the News King, would not be able to stand the excitement. Just have a big one when the time comes. During the process, Blackbeard also attacked Punk Hazard and obtained the fish fruit phantom beast species copied by Vegapunk. At the same time, he directly killed Geisa, the guy who used children for experiments, hunted his Logia gas fruit, and gave it to the chef Carmen. As for Nami's devil fruit, Blackbeard has already made plans in his mind, so he won't worry about it for now. Then, badgers also ate the fish fruit. What surprised Blackbeard was that after badgers ate the fish fruit replica, what appeared was not a pink dragon like Momonosuke, but a huge bloody dragon. Seeing this scene, Blackbeard was immediately satisfied. Sure enough, the strength of the fruit has a lot to do with the host itself. After these days, Badgers was personally trained by Blackbeard, and taught him how to develop the devil fruit, allowing him to quickly master the ability of the fish fruit. Although it didn't turn into a dragon as huge as Kaido, it was still 100 meters long. It already looks very scary. Whether it's heat extinguishment, bad wind, or flame cloud, badgers can use it, and it's extremely powerful. But what is truly powerful is the ability of the phantom beast species, the fish fruit, to strengthen badgers' physical body. Today's badgers, under normal conditions, even has a powerful defense that is comparable to the hardening of the color of the weapon. His physical skills have improved a lot. Except for Enel, who was a little jealous of Badgers' terrible promotion, no one else made any sense. Because among the black group, the one who practices the most diligently is Badgies. He deserves to have such strength now. After the excitement, Badgers was even more grateful to Blackbeard. He knows that if it weren't for Blackbeard, he might be where he is today. Blackbeard is very satisfied with the improvement in the strength of everyone in the black group. And just when the live execution was about to begin, he received another piece of good news from Vivi. Baroque Studio spent 1.5 billion belly in the underground world to buy an unknown zone, the Phantom Beast Devil Fruit. Chapter 61. Holy Land, Mariajoy, Pangaea. In the conference room, 5 elders come together. At this time, several of them looked gloomy as they listened to the CPO member who was kneeling on one knee in front of him reporting the situation. St. Charles is missing, and he's been missing for a week. What does your CPO do for a living? Is it possible that I strayed into some strange sea area? That's probably the case. It's impossible for some guy with no eyesight to attack that guy's ship, right? How is that possible? The ape demon said that he found nothing, not even a trace of the Charos. It seemed to have disappeared out of thin air. The most important thing is that in the first half of the park, even if there are pirates, they cannot be the opponents of the 5 CPOs. There are so many bodyguards on the ship. If there is a battle with a large pirate group, there will be no traces. The 5 elders also frowned a little at this time. They naturally don't care about the life of St. Charles, but they have to take into account the impact of the overall situation on the celestial dragons. Forget it, you CPO just need to pay attention to this matter and report the next thing. Saint Nashulong didn't want to waste energy on St. Charles, that pig, but looked at the CP0 and waved his hand. The latter was silent for a few seconds and then said, "In recent days, something seems to be brewing in the underground world." Stussy received a joint live broadcast invitation from Morgans. As for what happened, Morgans did not disclose it, so it is probably big news. Saint Wo Choli looked solemn and shouted, "That stupid bird should have been dealt with earlier. He is always making big news every day. It's so restless." Saint Satan nodded and said, "Morgan's ability is indeed a bit troublesome. The next time you collect the fruit, you must mark the fruit's ability, otherwise this fruit will fall into the hands of people other than the government. It really affects our ability to maintain stability." Quote. Moshe Sheng thought for a while and then said, Saint Charos handed over the others to investigate. Ape Demon, you personally keep an eye on the matter of the underground world. If there is any abnormality, report it immediately. Yes. At the same time, Grand Line, on an uninhabited island in the Calm Belt. Whistle, rustle, rustle. Blackbeard raised the 7-star sword with one hand, and Conqueror's hockey rose into the sky mixed with terrifying and strange red light and wisps of threads. Tisk. Immediately, this red light beam turned into countless scarlet raindrops in the sky and fell into the sea of Calm Belt, sinking into the heads of the 10 large sea creatures. After the sea kings that were originally lurking in the deep sea of the Calm Belt were hit by these scarlet raindrops, their calm eyes suddenly glowed with scarlet light. Next moment, on the desert island, Blackbeard suddenly felt a growing connection with thousands of large sea kings, and then burst out laughing. Ha 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 ha, kids, everything is ready. Robin, it's time to start. Dial Morgans and prepare to start the live phone bug. Understood. Robin in the distance directly used the flower fruit ability, activating 10 huge live phone bugs while dialing Morgan's phone. Click. It only rang for 1 second before Morgan's urgent voice came from the other side of the phone. Nico Robin, it's you. I have already contacted other kings of the underground world for the joint live broadcast related to celestial dragons that you mentioned before. You promised to make big news for me, but you can't break your promise. He. Robin covered his mouth and chuckled. We have prepared the big news you want, but I am not the one who wants to discuss it with you. Nico Robin, if you want to play tricks on me, don't blame me for leaking your information to the world government. Morgans, who was sitting in front of the screen, threatened with a cold look on his face. But before he could ask again, the phone imitated a laugh that made him feel so wrong. Thief, ha 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 ha. Morgans, if you dare to threaten Lousy's crew, be careful, I will demolish your News of the World newspaper office. Don't think I can't find you hiding in the sky. Quote. Morgans was startled. He quickly recognized the voice of the person on the other side. He didn't even care about the threat from the other person and said in surprise. Are you Blackbeard Marshall D. Teach? That's right, Blackbeard said bluntly. So, you instigated Nico Robin to negotiate the deal. Interesting. Morgan's eyes immediately lit up. As the captain of Whitebeard's Zero Division, you want to share with me the secret of the live broadcast related to the Celestial Dragons. Interesting. Interesting. Quack quack. Morgans flapped his wings excitedly. Come on, tell me what secrets the Celestial Dragons have. First start the live broadcast on China Unicom. Blackbeard grinned. You will know in a minute. After saying that, Blackbeard hung up the phone directly. Chaka, Whitebeard, Blackbeard, D, Celestial Dragons. I have a hunch that this live broadcast is going to explode, it's going to explode. Morgan snapped his fingers excitedly. Snapped. Zilla. The next second, the 6 glass screens in front of Morgan's lit up, and immediately the figures of the other 6 kings of the underground world appeared on the screen. Then came their impatient voices. Umit. I said Morgans, you've been doing this for a long time, where's the big news? Picro. If you try to trick me, I will cut off your bird's head. Stussy. I'm curious, you have to spend so much money on such a big thing like a joint live broadcast. Morgans, what big news do you have? Do Fisher. Give Morgans some confidence. Gilbertson. Hey, Morgans and I have been friends for a long time. It's impossible for this Birdman to use joint live broadcasts for trivial matters. Let's see what he says. After hearing what some friends said, Morgans just smiled. He originally thought it was Nico Robin, the devil's son wanted by the world government since childhood, who was finally going to reveal the secret between her and the Celestial Dragons. But now that Blackbeard is added to the mix, things get even more interesting. Especially Blackbeard's identity, and his name, coupled with the Celestial Dragons. Just thinking about what will happen when these several factors collide makes Morgans tremble with excitement. This is why he used so many resources. Everyone, just wait and see, we are likely to witness a hard time next. Hearing Morgan's words, all the kings of the underground world looked stern. Zilla. With the joint live broadcast signal, the territorial waters of Toto Land, Wano-Kuni, Shanks and Whitebeard are completely connected. Or perhaps the big screens of Sabayati Archipelago, world government's major franchised and non-franchised countries all jumped to another screen independently at this time. People all over the world were shocked by this sudden scene. At first glance, the picture looks like a desert island. Later, in the center of the stone forest on this desert island, there was a group of people standing, sitting, or eating leisurely. Not far behind them, there seemed to be a tall log standing tall. At this time, the camera has not been pulled up yet, and no one can see what the log is. Just when everyone was confused, a man with a black sword on his waist, a black cowboy hat, a captain's cloak with black bottom and gold trim, black trousers and boots appeared on the screen with ear loops. Most ordinary people are unfamiliar with this man. But the pirates on the sea, the Marines, or the kings of the major participating countries of the world government, they are all familiar with this pirate supernova, Blackbeard Marshall D. Teach, who has disappeared for nearly 2 months. Thief, ha 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 ha. Blackbeard opened with his signature laugh, bowing slightly to the camera and smiling. Everyone, thank you. You all must be very confused as to why I appear in your shots. But we will find out soon. Until then, I want you to remember today. Because, starting from today, the times will go crazy. Just as Blackbeard's joint live broadcast had just begun, people from all over the world looked shocked. Red-haired Shanks leads the sea. Beckman. Don't sleep, Shanks, something big has happened. Watch the live broadcast. Shanks. Stop making trouble with Beckman live. Wait, this guy is Teach. Wano-Kuni, Ghost Island. Jin. Boss, something urgent happened. Tien came to watch the live broadcast. Kaido. Live broadcast. From the underground world. What are these underground rats doing? You want me to see this guy? Who is he? Lousy has no impression. Quinn raised his forehead and said, Boss, that guy is the captain of the Zero Division of the Whitebeard Pirates, the Blackbeard Marshal D. Teach, who has been in the limelight recently. Toto Land Sea Area, All Nations. Katakuri. Mom, the joint live broadcast of the underground world has begun. Charlotte Linlin. What a horse. Let me go and watch Stussy's so-called good show. At the same time, the other end. Boom, boom, boom. The CP-08 demon, who had just walked out of Pengu City, after receiving the intelligence information from the phone bug, immediately rushed back to the door of the conference room with a changed expression and knocked on the door eagerly. Master Five Elders, I have something urgent to report. Enter. After hearing the sound coming from inside, the monkey demon immediately walked in, knelt down on one knee and quickly put aside the information he had obtained. The five elders' expressions darkened again, but no one said anything. They immediately connected the signal and started the live broadcast. The same scene also appeared in the Naval Headquarters Marineford conference room. Marshal Marine, Marine's 3 major forces, and 8 of Marine's veteran vice admirals are now gathered together. The fact that these Marine elites who should have been scattered around the world can appear in the Naval Headquarters conference room so quickly at this time is enough to explain the problem. They are all waiting for an opportunity in the order from the 5 elders above. But they didn't expect that they would receive the noise from the underground world first. Blackbeard, it's him again. This guy disappeared and made big news when he appeared. Sengoku gritted his teeth. Marine and others looked at the screen in silence. After Blackbeard finished speaking, he paused for a few seconds and spoke again. Next, I'm going to play a game with Marine and world government. This game is called Hide and Seek. Lousy is now on an uninhabited island above the sea, and then you Marine and world government need to find me. You only have 3 days. If you don't find me, then. Having said this, Blackbeard grinned, the camera zoomed up, and then everyone in the world saw a cross wooden stake more than 10 meters high behind him. At this time, there was a man wearing a space suit tied to the wooden stake, his face covered with blood. When they saw this man and what he was wearing, the expressions of everyone watching the live broadcast changed. Hey, stop joking, could that be celestial dragons? Tisk. Before they could react, Blackbeard had already drawn out the 7-star sword from his waist and waved 10 purple-colored sword energy into the sky, directly cutting off the left arm of Saint Kyaneros. Ah! The next second, Charos, who was originally a little weak, let out a shrill scream. Seeing this scene, the whole world seems to have fallen into a strange dead silence at this moment. Anyone with a bit of vision has already recognized that the guy tied to the stake by Blackbeard is celestial dragons. This outfit is only worn by celestial dragons in the world. But at this time, the celestial dragons they saw was not only beaten with blood on his face, but also had his right arm cut off by Blackbeard. What does this guy want to do? Is he crazy? The world seems to be speechless at this moment. Thief, ha 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 ha. At this moment, Blackbeard's devilish laughter spread from the phone bug to the world, reaching the ears of everyone watching the live broadcast, and at the same time his extremely arrogant voice sounded. Marine, world government, if you dare to cut off the signal, my next stab will be the head of St. Charles. 5 elders, are you watching? You don't want the celestial dragons to be publicly executed by me, do you? Then come on, come find me. As long as you find me, I will be happy. Boom. After Blackbeard finished speaking, the furious voices of the 5 elders were heard throughout the Holy Land. Blackbeard, this lowly pirate, how dare he do this? He's crazy, this guy is completely crazy. He is a member of the Whitebeard Pirates, right? How dare he? Isn't this guy afraid of us taking revenge on the Whitebeard Pirates? The CP agency will be dispatched immediately. It is different from the rage situation of the 5 elders in the Holy Land. At this time, the needle drop could be heard in the Naval Headquarters conference room. After a while, Garp's inappropriate laughter suddenly rang out. PFF, ha 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 ha. This Blackbeard is really smart, isn't he? What a pity, Whitebeard, they are going to be in trouble now. Garp, is this the time to joke? Sengoku immediately scolded. As soon as he opened his mouth, the phone started ringing. Sengoku connected directly, and the angry roars of the 5 elders were immediately heard on the other side of the phone. After being yelled at and scolded for a while, Sengoku hung up the phone expressionlessly, then looked at the crowd and said, "All right, bring your own live phone bugs and get ready to go." This Blackbeard really broke the news this time. I just don't know what that guy Whitebeard thinks. Quote, everyone obeyed the order, and the other 8 veteran vice admirals left immediately. There were only 6 people left in the conference room: Marshal Sengoku, 3 admirals and Garp, and Vice Admiral Crane. "It's so scary, Blackbeard." Kizaru stopped cutting his nails at this time and looked at Blackbeard on the screen with a very solemn expression. "Pirates, you really deserve to die." Akainu exhaled slowly. Aokiji scratched his head. What does this guy want to do? He asked us to find him. Could it be that he wants to die? Even if he is the captain of the Whitebeard pirates, this is too stupid. Crane Vice Admiral stared at the live broadcast screen carefully. After Aokiji finished speaking, she directly asserted, "This guy is really good at finding places. Sengoku, tell the people below to target Com Belt." Com Belt. Sengoku was stunned for a while, looked at the screen carefully, and then smiled. "As expected of you, Xiaohei, it seems we will be able to deal with this guy soon." Crane Vice Admiral's expression remained solemn, and he shook his head slowly. "Simple is good. I have a bad feeling about Sengoku." Quote, Sengoku, Garp and others all looked at Crane Vice Admiral in surprise. They think it's normal for Crane Vice Admiral to be able to lock down the approximate range so quickly. After all, Crane Vice Admiral is Marine's think tank. At this moment, Blackbeard's extremely arrogant voice sounded again. "You must be confused. Why would I do such a thing as the captain of the Whitebeard Pirates 0 Division? Of course it's because Lousy has quit the Whitebeard Pirates and locked in the 4 Emperors. How can the mere position of captain of Whitebeard's 0 Squad be worthy of Lousy's ambition? After this incident, it will be time for our Blackbeard Pirates to completely enter the world stage." Wow. After hearing Blackbeard's words, everyone watching the live broadcast was not calm. Charlotte Linlin. What a shame. This guy is so arrogant. Is he going to break away from the Whitebeard Pirates? Katakuri. That's probably it. It seems like this new world is going to be in chaos. Shanks. Hey, Beckman, what do you think? Beckman spread his hands. Are there not many new pirate stars like him who gain abilities and fame every year? Kaido. Wow, that's so interesting. Is that old guy Whitebeard going to be pissed off now? Jin. This guy is so audacious. Aren't he worried that Marine and the world government will completely destroy him after they find him? The kings in the underground world watching the live broadcast were also numb at this time. Although they knew that this time might be big news, they never expected that Morgans would actually make such heaven-defying news. They each looked at the bewildered Morgans on the live broadcast screen with his mouth wide open and laughed endlessly. Ha ha ha, Morgans, what are you thinking about? Isn't this the big news you want? Morgans, you're going to be in trouble this time. Tisk tisk tisk, kidnap the celestial dragons, cut off the celestial dragons' arms, live, and make the celestial dragons look ugly. Morgans, have you chosen the cemetery? At this moment, Morgans didn't care at all about the teasing of these friends. His eyes were fixed on the screen, and there was no trace of fear on his face. Instead, there was enthusiasm and excitement in his eyes. This Blackbeard is a madman, so how can he, Morgans, not be a madman? Otherwise, he would have been absorbed by the world government, or perhaps killed by the world government. If he doesn't even dare to continue this kind of live broadcast, then how can he keep his title of News King? Just when Morgans was excited, Blackbeard seemed to have given everyone enough time to react. He suddenly rose from the ground and came to the side of St. Charlos, who was wailing and screaming. Blackbeard raised his hand and pointed at St. Charlos and said with a smile, "Friends who are suffering all over the world, look, celestial dragons can bleed, be afraid, and scream. They are no different from us. Are they scary? Not scary. Then why do you have to give in? Why would you rather be called a slave who is being treated like a pig and not resist?" Seeing this scene, ordinary people's eyes seemed to have a light at this moment. Seeing the celestial dragons who were wailing and begging for mercy, they seemed to see themselves who had been oppressed and abused by nobles, pirates, and celestial dragons. How similar. It turns out that celestial dragons also bleed. Will they be so miserable? Among the Revolutionary Army headquarters, all the Revolutionary Army cadres looked at this scene with solemn expressions. After a while, as the leader of the Revolutionary Army, Long finally spoke in a deep voice. I originally thought this Blackbeard was a lunatic, but now it seems that this guy has an ulterior motive. Sabo, the commander-in-chief of the Revolutionary Army, also said in a deep voice. Hidden beneath this guy's crazy appearance is an unfathomable heart. Keep reading to find out what he wants to do. It won't take long for you to get the answer. 9 Snake Island, Amazon Lily Daughter Country. In the castle hall. The pirate empress raised her hand to cover her mouth, her lake blue eyes full of shock and disbelief. Looking at the rampant man on the live broadcast screen who treated the celestial dragons like a pig or a dog, she felt her heart begin to beat violently at this moment. Is there such a guy in the world? Yes, celestial dragons can bleed and be afraid too. Grandma Z couldn't help but be speechless when she saw this scene. Crazy, this guy is really crazy. He will definitely die miserably, ouch. Sheji, why are you kicking me? The angry voice of Grandma Z, who had already flown out of the window, came in. Hancock put away his straight long legs and snorted arrogantly. Old man, you are not allowed to curse Master Teach. Teach, Master. Marigold and Sandersonia beside them both exclaimed in shock at the same time. Sister, what's going on? The Whitebeard pirates. Aboard Moby Dick. Everyone who watched the live broadcast went from yelling and cursing at the beginning to being silent now. Instead, Whitebeard saw this and laughed loudly while drinking. This guy really gave me a surprise. La. Are you interested in Lousie's 4 Emperor's throne? Do you really think you can miss Lousie when he gets old? Lousie is Whitebeard. Marco on the other side was also shocked. But now he couldn't help but worry about Blackbeard's safety. There is no doubt that Teach's fire is indeed burning brightly. But it is even possible to burn him to death. Teach, you guy, it's better not to contact me. Just when Marco was helpless, Blackbeard's speech continued. I'm sure a lot of you think I'm crazy, right? In fact, you are right, I am indeed crazy. Surviving the celestial dragon's hunting game has made me crazy. In this world where Marine has been reduced to a lackey, celestial dragons wiped out a country in 3 years, and even plays a killing contest game. If you don't resist, you will only become a prey for others. Isn't it normal to be crazy? It's normal. You never know which country the celestial dragons will choose to destroy 3 years from now. You never know when their killing contest game will fall on you. You never know when those Marines who shout justice will stand guard for the celestial dragons and watch them hunt you. This is a hopeless world that sucks. Pirates plundered the sea. World government is a dictatorship. The participating countries are struggling to support themselves for the sake of gold in the sky. There is always the possibility that non-member countries will be destroyed and become slaves to build bridges. The only righteous Marine is helping others to do evil. You say, is there still hope for this world? In this case, let's just let this rotten world be destroyed. Starting today, an era is about to go crazy. The weak ones who treat others as slaves and others as flesh and blood will be eliminated. Only when the strong stay strong will they have a chance to survive. In troubled times, heroes emerge. So, everyone in the world watching here, don't be cowardly and silent. It's time to start fighting for your own survival. If you don't act, what awaits you will be guns and death. No one will wait for you. No one will pity you. No one will reach out to you. This is the cruel truth of this world. The weak will eat the strong, and the fittest will survive. Crazy. This guy is completely crazy. This was the first thought of everyone after hearing Blackbeard's words, but the more they thought about it, the more solemn their expressions became. What frightens many ordinary people in particular is that the celestial dragons, known as the descendants of gods, actually destroy a country every 3 years. Will there be a killing contest game at that time? The righteous Marine is reduced to a sentry at this time. So, what should ordinary people like them do? Do you really want to just wait and become a lamb to be slaughtered? No, never sit still and wait for death. Resist. We must resist. If you don't resist, you will be slaughtered. At this moment, an unknown flame rises in the hearts of countless ordinary people around the world. No one knows when this flame will burn completely and sweep the world. Compared to the ordinary people who were still insignificant at this time, the big shots at the top of the world were already panicking. Blackbeard's words and actions today have a huge impact. Blackbeard must die. This is a consensus reached by Marine senior management and 5 elders at the same time. The pirates who watched this scene had a different scene. Carnival, fanaticism, excitement, worship, this is the current situation of pirates. Blackbeard literally spoke to all of them. Kaido of the beasts. Wow, 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 you're right, let him destroy this rotten world. The weak do not deserve to survive. Shanks, Teach, is this your real ambition? Charlotte Linlin. What a horse. I really want to have a child with this guy. Holy Land, Maria, in the Pengu City conference room. Haven't you found the whereabouts of this Blackbeard yet? These guys are too slow and can't even lock in range. Since this guy has set his sights on the throne of 4 emperors, he shouldn't do anything too extreme. Stop joking. Haven't we done enough now? Where is the face of our celestial dragons? Where are those trash from Marine? Previously, Marine's Crane Vice Admiral had narrowed the scope to Calm Belt and believed that the Blackbeard pirates were on an island in Calm Belt. That's okay. For the next 3 days, the live broadcast continued. Almost all personnel from Marine and World Government are dispatched to search for traces of the Blackbeard pirates in the Calm Belt. So people all over the world saw the team building of the Blackbeard pirates. What makes World Government most incredible is that they actually saw several CP9s who had disappeared before on the live broadcast. Especially the most conspicuous existence, CP9's 6-style genius, Rob Lucci, turned out to be a handyman member of the Blackbeard pirates at this time. This scene shocked many Marine executives and World Government executives. They had no idea how this Blackbeard did it. Despite this, they still had some speculation and felt that it might be some kind of ability to control people. This ability is undoubtedly very terrifying. Elites like CP9 can only do odd jobs in the Black Group, and several other unfamiliar members of the Blackbeard pirate group have even confused the top brass of Marine and World Government. Except for Badgers, Fan Oka, and Poison Q, who had previously placed bounties on them, they all seemed to be newcomers. But if they are all newcomers, how can Blackbeard lead them to face the pressure of Marine and World Government? This group of people had been eating and drinking non-stop during the past 3 days. They looked relaxed and happy, not at all stressed. In fact, in the past 3 days, what really made everyone in the world feel ridiculous was St. Charles, who had one of his arms cut off. When he saw Blackbeard and the others eating delicious food and drinking wine, he was so hungry that he kept begging Blackbeard and the others to give him something to eat, saying that he was about to starve to death. Blackbeard is not stingy either. As long as St. Charles asks for it, he will give it. But every time, Blackbeard would say to the live camera, "It turns out that celestial dragons can beg and plead when they are hungry." This sentence once again defeated 5 elders. Charo. Si Sheng was cautious at first, but when he was hungry, he began to pray without regard for his face. Everyone who saw this scene, as well as the people in franchised and non-franchised countries around the world, had their filter on celestial dragons completely shattered. Descendants of what gods? What an inviolable existence. Simply ridiculous. The dignity of the celestial dragons has been trampled on bit by Blackbeard in the past 3 days. The 5 elders have also sat in the highest position of power in the world for too long. If they had been more decisive and directly cut off the live broadcast and gave up on Charles Saint, I'm afraid it wouldn't have turned out like this. But now that things have come to a point, it is no longer possible for them to cut off the live broadcast signal. Because it concerns the face of Marine and World Government, they must save St. Charles no matter what. It's a pity that neither the World Government nor Marine executives were able to find the location of the Blackbeard pirates in the past 2 days. Everyone around the world watching the live broadcast was gloating. They gave you 3 days and still couldn't find it. It was really too much. This wave of operations by Blackbeard has undoubtedly reduced the reputation of Marine and World Government. But even if they were anxious, there was nothing they could do. In fact, even if they locked the Calm Belt range, they could not go any faster. This is the Calm Belt after all, and there's no way ships of style can sail fast. If the steam runner ship is not fast enough, and even with seastone craftsmanship, you will still encounter 1 or 2 sea kings occasionally. What's more, Marine does not have a large number of steam paddle steamers, which means that the search speed cannot be accelerated at all. If it weren't for Sengoku sending the foreigner Kizaru out as a search tool, and at the same time, the world government also used Shichibukai Bartholomew Kuma's ability to ask him to help the search, the cable speed will only be slower. 3 days flew by. Just at noon on the third day, when everyone originally thought that the Black group would start taking vacation and entertainment again, Blackbeard suddenly made a move. Whoosh! He was seen rising into the air and came to St. Charles, who was already looking dispirited. Then, the latter slowly pulled out the 7-star sword with a complex expression of astonishment, horror, and even relief. The people who were originally lazy in front of the live broadcast suddenly became energetic. Especially when they saw Blackbeard pulling out the 7-star sword, everyone subconsciously exhaled. No way. What does this guy want to do? Blackbeard seemed to have heard the voices of everyone in the world at this moment. He suddenly turned his head and grinned at the camera and said, "What do I want to do? Is that what you think? Of course, to complete the execution of the celestial dragons. Today is the third day. Although the third day is not completely over yet, I am a pirate. Isn't it too funny to talk about credit with pirates? Noon has arrived. I'll send Lord Celestial Dragons on his way. The kind-hearted person, I really can't bear to see him suffer like this again. Why, compared to the slaves who died after being played by the Celestial Dragons, I am still too soft-hearted and kind-hearted." Quote. As he spoke, Blackbeard revealed his white fang, and slashed down with his long sword without mercy. Poof! The head flew up and blood spurted out. Without any surprise, the head of Celestial Dragons St. Charles was directly chopped off by Blackbeard's sword. Bang! The camera followed the head that was rolling in the air, with complex emotions such as fear and relief on its face, until the head hit the ground and spattered a few wisps of blood. Everyone. My heart seemed to be flat at this moment. It turns out that even Celestial Dragons will die if their heads are beheaded. Blackbeard's light words made the hearts of countless people around the world twitch. The 5 elders who saw this scene in the Holy Land were completely defeated. For a while, the roar of the 5 elders resounded throughout the Holy Land. Phew! At this moment, a golden ray of light came rushing from the distant sky. Boom! In just the blink of an eye, this golden figure turned into a stream of light and landed on the ground dozens of meters away from Blackbeard, blasting a crater with a diameter of 10 meters in the ground. Zzzz. As the golden particles gradually gathered, a man wearing a yellow and white striped suit and a Marine Admiral cloak of justice appeared over there. After seeing this figure, most people watching the live broadcast immediately recognized that the person was Admiral, a veteran of Marine. Kizaru Porisalino. Marine Admiral has arrived. The Blackbeard pirates are finished. This is a thought on everyone's mind. However, just when everyone thought Blackbeard would escape immediately, they saw Blackbeard turn around and look at Kizaru not far behind him, showing a surprised smile and saying, "It's over. We were found by Marine Admiral. It's really scary. Kizaru, how do you steal my lines?" At this moment, everyone watching the live broadcast from all over the world felt numb after hearing Blackbeard's mocking words. Instead of running away, this guy actually mocked Marine Admiral. Do you really not want to live? The one who is particularly frightened at this time is Robin in the Black group. Marine Admiral Kizaru, of course she knows. A man as terrifying and invincible as Marine Admiral Aokiji. Although she had known for a long time that their incident would alarm the Marine Admiral, she still took a chance. She definitely has the deepest understanding of Marine Admiral's strength. Aokiji and Akainu, who were vice admirals back then, easily destroyed Ohara. Their invincible power still scares her. Now that she faced this kind of power again, she was still frightened. But she suddenly discovered that the members of the Black group around her were looking at the 2 people in the distance with dumbfounded expressions. Are they not afraid at all? Maybe this is the confidence that Teach brings to them. Thinking of this, Robin felt a little relieved. Also, as the captain of Whitebeard's 0 Division, how could he not know the power of Marine Admiral? He has often seen Teach, a terrifying figure like Whitebeard, so how could he be afraid of the power of Marine Admiral? What's more, Teach's strength is obvious to all. Thinking of this, Robin's originally slightly pale face gradually returned to rosy, and she looked at the back of the man in the distance with a sense of security. Maybe this man is the companion that Saul said can protect him on the sea. The words are divided into two parts. Compared with the shocked ordinary people, most of the pirates watching the live broadcast showed their fun-loving nature. Shanks, ha 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 ha, Beckman, why do I think Teach is so cute now? Is it because he lost weight? Beckman, this guy really broke away from my stereotyped impression of him. Are you mocking Kizaru? Kaido of the Beasts, wow, 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 Jin, I like this guy more and more, I have to find a way to see if I can capture him and become a partner of our Beasts pirates. Jin raised his forehead and said, don't be ridiculous, boss, I've even jumped Whitebeard's ship. This guy's ambition is immeasurable, I just don't know if his strength can match his ambition. Whitebeard, Gu la 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 la, Teach, you did a great job on this, God loves it. Diamond Josie, hey dad, this guy just said he was betraying our Whitebeard pirates. Whitebeard, I almost gave it away. Holy Land, the five elders had already started smashing tables and vases, smashing vases and hitting the walls. They calmed down a little until the conference room was penetrated. Can just one Kizaru stop the Blackbeard pirates? Don't be ridiculous, that's Kizaru. It's just a Blackbeard pirate group, isn't it something you can control with your hands? I'm not very optimistic. I always feel that this guy sensed Kizaru in advance and then killed St. Charlos. Huh, how is it possible? If he senses Kizaru in advance, how strong is his sense of sight? Hundreds of miles in diameter. How is it possible? It's hard to say, let's keep watching. Anyway, as long as the location is locked, Buster Call level steam paddle boats will be sent directly to surround the island. The Blackbeard pirates must be completely destroyed within today. At the same time, on the Calm Belt Island where the Black Group is located. After hearing Blackbeard's words, Kizaru, who had just pouted in the distance, stiffened, then stared at Blackbeard helplessly and said, don't lie to me. You, the guy, simply discovered me a long time ago, so you killed me in advance. Oh, no, you were the one who murdered St. Charlos, right? The newcomers nowadays are really scary. Each one is as strong as a monster. Blackbeard's mouth twitched when he heard this, and he immediately sighed in agreement. Who says otherwise? You Marines are so insidious, you actually sent 2 admirals to deal with me. Could it be that you want to kill me, a hero who works for heaven, right? I just removed a moth from the world. Kizaru Admiral, you won't stop me from dancing, will you? You don't want to stand on the opposite side of the people, do you? No way, right? Hearing Blackbeard's words, the people in the Black Group in the distance, as well as everyone watching the live broadcast, couldn't help laughing. No, how could you say such shameless words? A borer in one world says a borer in another world, right? Bartolomeo in the distance gave a thumbs up to the captain, feeling deeply that he still had a lot to learn. Even Kizaru, who was as thick-skinned as a city wall, couldn't help but twitch the corner of his mouth when he heard this. Then he sighed and said in the tone of an old friend, don't make things difficult for me, Brother Teach, as a Marine Admiral, how could I let you, a pirate, go? Speed is weight. Have you ever been kicked at the speed of light? Sizzling. Kizaru is indeed the originator of shamelessness. He didn't care about the conversation between the two parties and directly attacked his 36-year-old comrade. But unfortunately, Blackbeard, as a 20-year-old sea fan in his previous life, already knew his second uncle's character very well. Before he could make a sneak attack, Blackbeard had already made a sneak attack. Marine sent 2 Marine admirals to capture him. Kizaru arrived first, followed by Aokiji, who was on his way in a paddle boat. But how could Blackbeard let him have his way? While talking to Kizaru, he had already ordered the Sea Kings controlled by him with mind-locking technique to directly surprise 30 Marine steam paddle steamer warships. Even with the escort of Marine Admiral and several Vice Admiral, the 30 medium and large Marine steam paddle steamers were still 90% destroyed by thousands of Sea Kings in the moment of sneak attack. Only 1 or 2 of them were saved by Aokiji's frozen fruit ability. But even so, Aokiji and the others could only stop at the frozen sky hundreds of miles away. This shows how terrifying Poseidon is. If there is a live broadcast, you can see that the thousands of Sea Kings that suddenly emerged from the sea have now turned into huge ice sculptures of different shapes, like exquisite works of art. Along with these Sea Kings, there were also Marine soldiers who had no time to escape. Aokiji looked extremely ugly standing on the ice. No matter what, he never expected that Marine's highest profile Buster Call would be destroyed in an instant. What he didn't expect was that they would suddenly be attacked by thousands of Sea Kings. If it weren't for him, a person with the frozen fruit ability, Kizaru and Akainu, I'm afraid only Admiral and a few Vice Admirals would survive. Terrible. Is this the power of the Blackbeard pirates? Aokiji isn't sure. After thinking about it, Aokiji took the lead and called Kizaru's phone to check the situation. Go back to the first 3 seconds when Aokiji made the call. On a desert island, Kizaru turned into a golden stream of light and instantly appeared above Blackbeard's head. That dazzling kick was about to kick Blackbeard in the head. Everyone watching the live broadcast cursed when they saw Kizaru, who was a Marine Admiral, making a sneak attack. Shanks, Kizaru is a despicable guy. Beckman, remember not to warn him not to move next time, just shoot him. Beckman. Kaido laughed loudly. Wow, 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 this is fighting, do whatever you can to fight. Whitebeard is angry. Kizaru brat. Marco. Dad, please calm down, we and teacher now hostile. Whispering. Whitebeard. Just when everyone thought that Blackbeard would be deceived by this old comrade into a sneak attack and suffer this embarrassing loss, a jaw-dropping scene happened. Blackbeard was seen facing Kizaru, who was sneaking up on him. He just raised his right hand and pointed it upward at Kizaru's body. At the same time, he grinned and shouted. Shinra Tenjang. Buzz. Call out. Boom. The next moment, after a strange black mist surged, Kizaru's figure turned into a golden stream of light and flew hundreds of meters backwards faster than when he came for the sneak attack, and hit the barren mountain with a huge explosion. This sudden scene shocked everyone watching. What's the situation? Kizaru stole the money and lost the rice. 8-foot mirror. Just as everyone was thinking about this, they saw a continuously refracted golden light shooting out from the smoke and dust of the explosion on the barren mountain a few hundred meters away. In the blink of an eye, they came to stand dozens of meters in front of Blackbeard. At this time, Kizaru looked at Blackbeard solemnly and said, It's really scary, Blackbeard. What ability was that just now? You don't think I will explain my abilities to you during the battle, do you? Blackbeard looked at Kizaru with a strange expression and said, Can you not be too outrageous? Why don't you tell me your abilities? No problem, shall we exchange information? Kizaru thought for a second and agreed immediately. Blackbeard, I've met my opponent. Have you met someone more shameless than lousy? Brew brew brew. At this moment, the phone in Kizaru's pocket rang. Hearing the sound, Kizaru made a stop gesture to Blackbeard and said, Wait a minute, I'll take a call. Blackbeard made the OK gesture. No problem. Marine Senior Management. 5 Elders. Worldwide viewers watching the live broadcast. You two are fighting. Can you be more serious, asshole? What I want to see is a river of blood. Shanks. Ha 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 ha, Beckman is so funny, isn't he? How about we invite Teach on board? Beckman. Don't you miss those 3 scars between your eyebrows? Shanks. Blackbeard and I are at odds with each other. Everyone at Red Hair Pirates laughed. While everyone was speechless at the endless battle between Blackbeard and Kizaru, Kizaru waited for a long time and still couldn't get through the call. He stared at the small black phone on his wrist and kept complaining. It's so strange, why is there no sound? Moses. How strange. Quote, Blackbeard in the distance had seen this famous scene countless times in the original novel in his previous life, but seeing him now, he still couldn't help but twitch the corner of his mouth. He didn't know for a while whether Kizaru really had Alzheimer's disease or was missing a muscle. However, since the other party was an old comrade, Blackbeard still kindly gave some advice. I said, Kizaru Admiral, is there a possibility that the phone bug that made the sound is in your pocket? Kizaru was startled. He raised his hand and touched it. He immediately found a phone bug that kept making sounds. He immediately smiled and said, It's actually in my pocket, thank you. You're welcome. Blackbeard was very polite. 5 Elders, you two give me some food. Infuriated. Click. Before Kizaru answered the phone, a helpless and lazy voice came from the other side. It took you so long to answer the phone. Porosalino, you didn't forget that the phone bug was in your pocket again, did you? Quote. How can it be? Kizaru quibbled in public. I was fighting Blackbeard just now, and the newcomers are as strong as monsters. It's so scary. Allah Allah, Porosalino, let's not do this between us. He is in trouble. Aokiji's speechless voice came and said, I have a problem here. We were attacked by thousands of sea kings before, and almost all the steam paddle boats were destroyed. Although there were very few casualties among the marine soldiers, they were all frozen by me and needed immediate treatment. Maybe there's no way to rush over for support at the moment, but you'll be fine on your own, right? What? When Kizaru heard Aokiji's words, his wilted expression immediately calmed down, and his whole person became calm. I have no problem here. You need to have someone come to rescue you right away. Ah, then I can rest assured, it's really troublesome. After Aokiji finished speaking, he hung up the phone. Chaka. Kizaru hung up the phone and looked at Blackbeard solemnly. I'm sorry, brother, I can't continue playing. Can you please go to Impel Down with me? That might not work, bro. Blackbeard grinned evilly and said. I just heard it. Aokiji can't come to support you, right? Yes, is it possible that you still want to besiege me, a 55-year-old comrade? Kizaru pursed his lips and said. It's really scary. The reason Blackbeard and Kizaru were quarreling just now was to delay time and kill the marine fleet. Now that the goal is achieved, it is naturally impossible for him to continue delaying it. He immediately grinned at Kizaru and said. Then let's get started, Kizaru-san. I also want to see if today's Marine Admiral can weigh my strength. Razor. Bang. Whoosh whoosh. After Blackbeard finished speaking, he jumped up and fired several air blasts in the air before turning into an afterimage and rushing towards Kizaru. Is this an advanced version of 6-style shaving? It's really scary. Kizaru narrowed his eyes, feeling frightened by Blackbeard's speed, and immediately turned on his emotions. After catching Blackbeard's figure, Kizaru raised the corner of his mouth, thinking that he was still a little too young. He slightly turned his body and kicked at the speed of light, and then swept towards the charging Blackbeard with terrifying force. Definitely, bang. But Blackbeard grinned when he saw this. He just deliberately caught his figure for Kizaru. Immediately, Blackbeard raised his right foot and stepped down 10 steps ahead of Kizaru's long leg. What? Kizaru was shocked. He had rich combat experience and knew that he might have been fooled, but Blackbeard did not give him time to make amends. Universal pull. The next second, Blackbeard's left hand wrapped around the purple-black emission armament hockey sucked hard at Kizaru, who was close at hand, and directly pinched his shoulder. Darkness. The dark fruit ability is activated directly, instantly causing Kizaru to temporarily lose the ability of sparkling fruit. Blackbeard's right fist was already ready and hit Kizaru's stomach. Emission 6 King's Spear! Exclamation mark exclamation mark exclamation mark. Tisk. Immediately, a purple-black light beam came out from behind Kizaru, and at the same time, Kizaru was blown away with huge force. Wow! The careless Kizaru vomited a mouthful of blood in the air and flew hundreds of meters backwards, shattering several boulders before hitting the mountain wall and stopping. This set of combos was done in one go. When Blackbeard saw Kizaru, he decided to take advantage of his carelessness and unknown knowledge of his fruit's ability to hit him hard. As for killing Kizaru with one move, he has never thought about this kind of world. Even if Kizaru relies too much on devil fruit, as Zephyr said, Marine Admiral is Marine Admiral. That's a hexagon warrior. Regardless of physical skills, swordsmanship, abilities, or hockey, they are all top-notch beings in the world. How is it possible to take away the opponent with just one set of combos? Having said that, Blackbeard still had some regrets on his face. Looking at Kizaru, who was embedded in the mountain wall in the distance, he shook his head and said. Unfortunately, Marine Admiral is not that easy to solve. Marine Senior Management. 5 Elders. 4 Emperors. I beat Kizaru like this in a face-to-face encounter, why do you feel sorry for me? Don't be too outrageous. Tisk. Just when everyone was wondering what the next battle would be like, a blue lightning flashed from the black camp in the distance. In the blink of an eye, a figure with thunder and lightning appeared in front of Blackbeard. When they saw this lightning figure appear, the pupils of all the high-end combatants watching the live broadcast shrank suddenly. Naval Headquarters Conference Room. Hey, it's impossible, right? Is it that Logia? Sengoku, how about I go to support you? This way we can kill these pirate trash faster. Marine 3 Admiral besieged a rookie pirate group. Do you still want the face of Marine in the world government? Sakazuki, don't just think about killing pirates. Urge Aokiji to hurry up and rush to the battlefield. If nothing else happens, that ability is probably the strongest in the Legend Logia Thunder Fruit. Nani, Holy Land, Pengu City. In the conference room. The 5 elders looked extremely ugly. Blackbeard, where did this guy get the Thunder Fruit from? This Esper is definitely a newcomer, otherwise we wouldn't have known about the Esper with Thunder Fruit. Call Aokiji, tell him not to care about the life and death of those trash soldiers, and rush to the battlefield. That's all we can do for the time being. No one thought that there would be such a top Logia ability user in the Blackbeard pirates. Coupled with his own strength, no wonder they, a mere rookie pirate group, dared to face Marine Admiral here. Is this where this confidence comes from? Just when everyone was thinking about this, Kizaru, who had been blown away and vomited blood, transformed into a golden stream of light and rose into the sky. Sizzling, crossing his arms at an altitude of tens of meters, he shines like a golden sun. 8-foot beautiful Magatama. Kizaru fired a group laser without saying anything. Judging from Kizaru's lack of BB, he is obviously a little angry. But then, a scene that shocked Kizaru appeared. Captain, let me try it, the world's top combat power you mentioned. Just take a look at the moves you taught me to develop before. Everyone who watched the live broadcast saw Enel, who was standing next to Blackbeard, taking a step forward with electric light shining all over his body. Okay, let's feel the difference. With me at the rear, you can fight to your heart's content. Blackbeard crossed his arms and looked unusually calm. The two people's tone of treating Marine Admiral as if they were nothing shocked everyone watching the live broadcast again. Tisk. Facing Kizaru's 8-foot Magatama move, Enel did not retreat but advanced. In a flash of lightning, his figure appeared in the air. He turned his body slightly, stretched his right hand forward and pointed at the laser falling from the height and shouted. Thunder. Rumble. As Enel finished speaking, countless blue thunderbolts like rainstorm threads burst out from Enel's palm, covering hundreds of meters in the blink of an eye. At the same time, the soul-stirring sound of rolling thunder resounded through the sky like a bolt from the blue. The next second, countless blue thunders sweeping upward collided with golden lasers falling from the sky. Boom boom boom. The sound of a huge explosion echoed on this desert island. The people in the black group watching from a distance could not help but raise their hands to avoid the aftermath of the battle. Even if they saw the new abilities developed by their captain for Enel again, they were still shocked. Thunder fruit used in this way gives a real thunder god feeling. The thunderbolt that came out of nowhere was simply frightening. The audience watching the live broadcast couldn't help but gasp at this time. Is this the duel of top Logia ability users? This is just the beginning of the collision. Many lazy people suddenly became excited. Kizaru in the sky also felt something was wrong at this time. When the aftermath of the explosion dissipated, he saw Enel, a mixed color entwined with electric light, appearing dozens of meters above him opposite him. Kizaru's expression suddenly changed and he exclaimed, Thunder fruit. Even Kizaru was indeed shocked, and then sighed. It's really scary. Does the Blackbeard pirates still have such terrifying abilities as you? The new members now are as strong as monsters. Enel's mouth twitched when he heard this, and he thought to himself, are you qualified to talk about others? Your fruit ability is also very pervert. HMPH. If I wasn't strong enough, I wouldn't be able to be the second in command of the Blackbeard pirates. Enel is not that kind of humble guy. No, it should be said that he is a very stinky existence. He immediately waved to Kizaru and said, the captain said that your ability is also top Logia's devil fruit. Then come on, let me see who is stronger between us. Remember, this god's name is Enel of God. Tisk. After Enel finished speaking, he retreated instead of advancing, directly opening a distance of several hundred meters. Under Kizaru's stunned gaze, Enel spread his hands, and the lightning around him shot towards the sky like a power grid. Thunder prison. Tisk tisk tisk. Seeing the large nets woven by thunder covering the surrounding area thousands of meters high, Jia Yuan couldn't help but exclaimed. It's good to develop abilities, but you don't want to use these abilities to catch me, do you? Yes BBFF, isn't it a bit too whimsical? Speed is weight. Have you ever been kicked at the speed of light? Sizzling. As soon as Kizaru finished speaking, he turned into a golden light speed and appeared beside Enel, and kicked Enel with a light speed barb. Tisk. But what surprised Kizaru was that his foot went directly through Enel's body, and at the same time, he felt a strong numbness and pain in his foot. What? How is this possible? Kizaru used armament hockey for this kick. Even if the opponent is Logia, he shouldn't directly send it through the body. Snap. Snap. The next second, Enel, who was kicked by Kizaru, was filled with lightning, and he actually grabbed Kizaru's long legs with both hands. Thunder clone. Dong dong dong. Immediately, in the sky above Kizaru, another Enel slowly emerged from a power grid in the sky, and the sound of taiko drums also came from there. As the main body over there. When Kizaru looked surprised and wanted to give Enel a kick, but his expression suddenly changed. Because he found that he had been caught, and the strong numbness and pain made it very difficult for him to move. Kowloon thunder explosion. In the sky, Enel is no longer sloppy and casts spells faster. 9 huge thunder dragons soared into the sky from behind him and immediately pounced on Kizaru from 9 directions. At this time, Kizaru was held by Enel's thunder clone, and he was paralyzed by lightning, which made him unable to move for a while. And the 9 thunder dragons have already attacked. All this is done almost in a breath. Boom boom boom. A huge explosion sounded in the air again, and there were countless blue thunder snakes dancing wildly in the explosion. The scene looked extremely terrifying. The attack power of thunder and lightning is already the strongest in Logia, and now it also has the ability to explode. This is indeed enough for Kizaru to drink a pot. So strong. Everyone watching the battle did not expect that the abilities of this little-known Logia user were so outrageously developed. Is Kizaru really suppressed? 8-foot mirror with the speed of light. Sizzling. Just when everyone was thinking about this, streaks of golden light shot out from the blue thunderstorm, and in an instant these blue thunderbolts were dispersed by the golden light. Immediately, everyone saw a diamond-shaped golden light column spinning rapidly while shooting out golden lasers to scatter the lightning. And Kizaru appears in this diamond-shaped golden light pillar. Sizzle. As a golden light beam shot towards Enel, Kizaru's figure also disappeared into the diamond-shaped light beam. Almost as soon as the golden light hit Enel, Kizaru's body ejected from the golden light beam and kicked Enel mercilessly. Vice Admiral kicked him high into the air. Zilla. Boom. Then an explosion of laser light suddenly exploded on the desert island. Kizaru in the sky side, looked at the power grid all over the sky and sighed. Did the elementalization escape? It seems that these power grids still affect my speed. It's really scary that his abilities have been developed to this extent. Quote. 20 million volt discharge super electromagnetic gun. Just when Kizaru was filled with emotion, a dazzling blue-white light shone out from the smoke and dust of the explosion below, and then a huge thunder and lightning wave with a diameter of more than 10 meters shot towards Kizaru in the sky from the explosion smoke and dust below. Boom. Kizaru, who was still sighing, was directly hit by lightning at the speed of light, and immediately exploded with a huge explosion. The terrifying aftermath of the explosion directly shook away all the clouds in the sky, making the midday sun shine brighter. Everyone watching the live broadcast saw this overwhelming and gaudy battle of top ability users, and their scalps were numb and their blood was boiling. It's so cool. This is the battle they imagined between top-level ability users. Enel of Gods. This title really stinks. But this trick is really cool. Kizaru's angry voice suddenly sounded in the smoke and dust from the explosion in the sky. This young man actually took advantage of him to trick him into sneaking a sneak attack while he was showing off. What a lack of martial ethics. 8-foot beautiful Magatama. Sizzling. Countless golden lasers shot down from the sky in Enel's direction. 3,000 thunder phantoms. Tisk. Enel is not inferior here either. His figure directly transforms into countless Enel and shoots out in all directions. Boom boom boom. Although the falling 8-foot Magatama destroyed many Enel clones, there were still nearly 100 Enel either suspended in the air or standing on the ground, looking at Kizaru in the sky with a proud smile on their faces. Then, nearly 100 Enel spoke at the same time. Marine Admiral, nothing more than that. This momentum does still give people a great sense of oppression. Even everyone watching the live broadcast couldn't help but sigh. This guy named Enel of God has simply developed thunder fruit into flowers. However, many experts also saw Enel's combat strategy. Just keep attacking Kizaru from a distance and never engage him in close combat. Whenever Kizaru gets close, he immediately uses his ability to pull away. Thunder fruit is no slower than sparkling fruit. Thunder and lightning are also light, but there is no rain. Coupled with the natural destructive power and paralysis effect of thunder and lightning, Kizaru will be affected no matter what. Looking at it this way, Kizaru is really a bit. There's a hint of restraint in it. After thinking about it carefully for a while, many experts were shocked. Because Enel has a very clear understanding of himself, no matter what, he will not fight Kizaru in close combat but will fight waves remotely. Thinking of this, they also understood. This Enel is a newcomer after all, and he is far behind Kizaru in terms of armament hockey and physical skills. Therefore, there is no problem for him to choose long-range combat. If it weren't for long-range combat, it would be impossible to maintain a 50-50 split with Kizaru. Kizaru is the Marine Admiral with the best combat power in the world. How heaven-defying is it for a mere second in command of the Blackbeard pirates to be at odds with him? After figuring it out, many people felt relieved. But if they knew that Enel's observation hockey was no weaker than Kizaru with the bonus of Thunder Fruit, their jaws would probably be dropped, right? After the smoke and dust from the explosion dispersed, Kizaru appeared in front of everyone with a somewhat gray face. After hearing what Enel said, Kizaru pouted and said, "What a cunning boy. But, it's a clone. I can do it too." Quote. Sizzling. As the golden light around Kizaru flashed, countless clones of Kizaru appeared in the sky, shirtless, with gold bead necklaces around their necks, and lightsabers in hand. "What? You can do it too." Enel's expression is wonderful. Blackbeard from behind smiled and said, "Shao I, you don't think you are the only one who can do the clone, do you? Don't underestimate others." Almost ready to withdraw, Kizaru is deliberately stalling for time, waiting for the other Marine Admiral to arrive. Otherwise, do you think you can delay him for so long? Still using little tricks to test people. Don't be too cocky, Enel. Quote. Enel, who was still a little secretly proud in his heart, couldn't help but be startled. Kizaru, on the other hand, clearly had a helpless expression as he was exposed. He raised his hand and scratched his cheek. Today's young people are really scary. Not only are they strong, they are also so thoughtful. It's really tricky. I have a headache. I can't let you run away. Polymerization. As Kizaru spoke, he raised his hand and pointed at the clone in front of him. Sizzling. The next second, these more than 100 clones turned into light particles and gathered together to form a clone that was exactly the same as Kizaru. It's just that this clone is holding a Tiankongan sword. You go deal with that Enel, leave Blackbeard to me. Kizaru raised his hand and pointed at the stunned Enel below, then rushed towards Blackbeard with his own body, sighing helplessly. You have made such a big fuss. If you run away, what dignity will Marine and world government have? Sizzle. Kizaru flew towards Blackbeard from the sky and attacked without hesitation. This type of move is useless against me. If you want to fight me, be more serious, Kizaru. Darkness surged around Blackbeard, sweeping directly towards the 8-foot Magatama that was shooting towards him. After the darkness and golden light passed by each other, the 8-foot Magatama was completely absorbed. At the same time, Blackbeard kicked Kizaru in the sky with a whip. Tempest kick Joe Duan. Tisk. The next second, a blue-black moon blade tens of meters long rose into the sky and struck Kizaru. Tian Kong Yun sword. Seeing this scene, Kizaru also frowned and pulled his hands together. A golden lightsaber appeared in his hand and then slashed at the incoming tempest kick. Exclamation mark, exclamation mark, exclamation mark. Kizaru's attack and Blackbeard's tempest kick exploded in the air, emitting huge air waves and smoke. Blackbeard didn't stop at all. He directly pulled out the 7-star sword from his waist and pointed it at Kizaru in the sky, slashing at the level of a great swordsman. Crescent moon clash. As Blackbeard shouted, a purple-black moon blade hundreds of meters long rose directly into the sky and struck Kizaru, who was still in the smoke and dust, directly cutting him down from the air. Boom boom boom. After Kizaru's body smashed into several rocky hills, he finally hit a large mountain and exploded completely. As soon as Blackbeard saw it, he knew that this was not Kizaru's true form. He had already used the light particle clone to improve himself while he was being slashed away. Clang. The next second, a cold light came from behind. Blackbeard raised his hand without hesitation and used the 7-star sword to block it backwards. At the same time, he grabbed back with his left hand full of black mist and said coldly, "Kizaru, have you forgotten the consequences of being close to me?" Kizaru, who appeared behind Blackbeard, suddenly changed his expression when he heard this. Snapped, but it was still too late. His shoulder was once again grasped by Blackbeard. Poof! The next moment, blood spurts out. Hiss! Everyone watching the live broadcast gasped wildly when they saw this scene, making the air in the whole world become a little thinner. Kizaru was seriously injured. That Marine Admiral Kizaru was beaten like this by Blackbeard. The faces of everyone who were originally just lazy people became serious. They never thought that Blackbeard would be so powerful. Why doesn't Kizaru have elemental dodge? His armament hockey can't possibly be worse than Blackbeard. Even if it's a little worse, it's still impossible to cause such serious injuries. At this time, Kizaru had a hideous wound from his right shoulder to his left rib that was splattering with blood. Ordinary people would have been shocked and pale. But at this time, Kizaru was extremely calm. Instead of retreating, he advanced and entangled the senior armament. Hockey kicked Blackbeard in the stomach. Boom! Blackbeard's reaction was also not slow. In an instant, a layer of purple-black armor wrapped around his body to block the move. Call out! Boom! But even so, he was still kicked away by Kizaru's powerful and heavy kick, causing blood to flow from the corner of his mouth. This time, the two of them almost exchanged injuries for injuries, but it was obvious that Blackbeard was slightly better. Zilla! After Kizaru kicked Blackbeard away, he fell back 100 meters away again. Standing on top of a rock, looking at his own hideous wounds after elementalization, he looked in the direction of Blackbeard with a twitching expression and said in shock, "Your ability is a bit too scary, and I accidentally fell into it. Plus the first time. I finally understand. Can your ability negate the abilities of the espers you capture?" How terrible. This kind of ability is simply the nemesis of ability users. Wow. As soon as Kizaru said this, everyone watching the live broadcast was in an uproar. Really or not, that Blackbeard's ability is so terrifying. Even Admiral Kizaru suffered a big loss. Hiss. No wonder this guy dares to fight Marine Admiral. It turns out he is confident. Blackbeard, another top-notch combat power is coming to the sea. How could it be just one person? You forgot about the Thunderfruit ability user, that is also the third top ability. While everyone was talking endlessly, there was another movement on the battlefield. I saw Enel, who was fighting with Kizaru's previous clone in the distance, change his posture of flying a kite in the distance. Lightning flashed all over his body, and countless arcs of electricity spurted out from Enel's body in all directions. At the same time, the thunder net in the sky was triggered to cover Kizaru's clone. 3,000 thunders and 10,000 thunders heavenly prison. Enel transformed into a thunder phantom and rushed to Kizaru's clone in the blink of an eye. The surrounding rich network directly immobilized Kizaru, who wanted to use light particles to leave. Tisk tisk tisk. The next second, endless thunder burst out along the thunder net, and the powerful current instantly engulfed Kizaru's clone. After lasting for several seconds, a huge, boom, explosion completely engulfed countless boulders within hundreds of meters around it, leaving a huge crater with a diameter of several hundred meters on the ground. At the same time, Kizaru's clone also disappeared. Kizaru, who was standing on the top of the boulder in the distance, couldn't help but groan. He looked at Enel, who appeared beside Blackbeard, with a solemn look and sighed. "Didn't you expect that my clone wouldn't be able to stop you for a long time? As expected of Thunderfruit's ability, it is too restrained for me. We have no choice but to delay it for a while longer, which is really terrible. Marine Admiral can only delay you for a while. 8-foot Magatama." After Kizaru finished speaking, his figure rose into the sky, dazzling with golden light, and his power was breathtaking. Enel saw this and immediately said, "I come." Snapped. Blackbeard grabbed his shoulders and threw him back to the broken ship where the camp was located and said, "Do you think it's still the same power as before? When he was ready to withdraw, I stopped him for a while. Wait until the two Marine Admirals surround us, then we'll be in trouble." Understood. Enel also understands the importance of things. After the previous battle with Kizaru, he already understood how big the gap between himself and Marine Admiral was. People were playing the whole time, and he was trying his best the whole time. Judging from the attitude of his captain in the previous fight with the opponent, if he was accidentally kicked by Kizaru's high-level armament haki, he would probably be half disabled. Is it true that the body is the cornerstone of a person with abilities? When I go back, I still need to strengthen my physical skills and haki training. As for fruit development, well, my own captain has provided himself with enough ideas. It can't be finished at all. Enel, who was thrown back to the camp, said, "Get ready to retreat, there is another Marine Admiral on the way." When everyone in the Black Group heard this, they immediately understood and began to execute the plan. Everyone got on the old ship. At the same time, faced with the 8-foot Magatama, that was several times more powerful than before, Blackbeard did not panic. He held the 7-star sword and his whole body was wrapped in ink-black airflow. Sephiroth's demon sword flashed in his mind, and he immediately slashed out with one sword. Wanjian Chaozong, Tisk. The next moment, the sight and color locked, and hundreds of jet-black sword energies soared into the sky, directly colliding with the falling 8-foot Magatama in midair. Boom boom boom. A huge explosion resounded across the sky, and terrifying air waves spread out, causing the surrounding sea to roll. Equally matched again. Everyone watching the live broadcast was shocked after seeing this scene. Is this Blackbeard so powerful? Kizaru's figure in the sky fell on the mountain and looked at Blackbeard below with a solemn expression. Even if the fruit's ability is so powerful, is your swordsmanship still at the level of a great swordsman? That guy Whitebeard actually had such a monster on his ship. How terrible. Laser chop. Zila. After Kizaru finished speaking, he closed his hands, and the golden Tiankongyan sword appeared in his hands again. Then he raised his hands high and pointed at Blackbeard below, and struck down with the sword. Zilla. The golden sword energy with the uniqueness of Kizaru laser slashed downwards towards Blackbeard. Blackbeard was not timid at all. He held the 7-star sword tightly with both hands, and the figure of my king flashed in his mind. Immediately, the corners of his mouth raised, and the 2-color haki was injected. The strong airflow around him blew his hair upwards, a terrifying momentum was brewing in it, and then he slashed diagonally with his sword. Excalibur. He. A purple-red sword light instantly rose into the sky, and instantly swallowed up the golden sword light that Kizaru had slashed down. Then, without losing its force, under Kizaru's shocked eyes, the mountain peak 100 meters below him was directly submerged by the purple-red sword light. Then the sword light shot up into the sky and exploded several kilometers into the sky. Rumble. The terrifying sound of the explosion echoed in the sky, and more than half of the previous mountain peak hundreds of meters high was directly eliminated by this sword light. Kizaru's figure had long since disappeared into it. Click. Blackbeard put away the 7-star sword, soared into the air, and flew to the bow of the dilapidated pirate ship and sat down under the gaze of everyone in the world. Immediately, he put his fingers together and waved at the camera and said, "Well, dear viewers, today's live broadcast ends here. I hope next time I see you, I am not the one who got this. Finally, I hope you will remember. There is no God in the world, you are your savior. The times are about to run wild. The window period for the throne of heaven has arrived, come on, compete with me in the frosty sky. The throne can be touched by both you and me." Snapped. After saying this, Blackbeard snapped his fingers. The next moment, under the shocked eyes of everyone around the world, one of the Blackbeard pirates jumped up and turned into a 100-meter-long bloody dragon rising into the sky. Flying together with it was the ruined pirate ship that was enveloped by the bloody flame cloud. When the ship took off into the sky, its speed accelerated again and rushed towards the distant sky. In a few breaths, it turned into a small black dot and disappeared from the live broadcast screen. Everyone who originally thought the live broadcast was over was stunned when they saw the huge bloody dragon. After that, all the world's top experts were stunned. Hey, what happened to that giant bloody dragon just now? It's too outrageous. Does the legendary dragon really exist? No, why do I think that bloody dragon looks so much like Kaido? Stop joking, how could Kaido be on Blackbeard's ship? Do the Blackbeard pirates still have such fighting power? It doesn't matter if you have the ability to fly, but it's too fast, isn't it? What's going on? What the hell? Where is Kizaru? Where did Kizaru go? Was he killed by Blackbeard? It doesn't feel like it, right? But Blackbeard and the others all ran away and that guy didn't come out either. Maybe he was injured. While the people watching the live broadcast were arguing endlessly, the live broadcast screen was still not closed. Zilla. A golden light fell from the sky, and Kizaru's figure appeared on the half-cut mountain peak. Then he couldn't help but scratch his head and said, "Now things have become troublesome. They actually ran away. It's really scary. The Blackbeard pirates." Kakaka. At this moment, the sea surface on one side of the desert island was suddenly frozen, and immediately a figure with white cold air rose into the sky on the moonwalk and jumped in the direction of Kizaru. At the same time, Aokiji's iconic lazy voice sounded. "No, Porosalino, you let them escape, it's really troublesome." You were injured. Stop joking, Porosalino. Blackbeard, is there anyone in this new pirate group who can hurt you? Aokiji, who was originally very lazy, couldn't help but change his expression when he saw the ferocious scar on Kizaru's body. He knows very well that Kizaru is even stronger than him. Is there anyone in the Blackbeard pirates who can hurt him like this? Tisk. Kizaru raised his hand and tore off his suit to expose his arms. He raised his hand and pointed at the knife wounds on his body and the punch mark on his stomach and said, "Don't say you don't believe it, I can't believe it myself. These are all caused by Blackbeard. I will take a longer vacation this time. I am giving you my body in exchange for information about Blackbeard's abilities." Blackbeard, is he so strong? Aokiji was a little in disbelief. It's hard to believe, but it is true. Kizaru shook his head and said, "He also has a Logia ring on his ship. People with thunder fruit abilities are also terrifyingly powerful." Brew brew brew. As soon as Kizaru said this, Aokiji heard the voice of a phone bug. Aokiji frowned and answered the call directly, but before he could speak, a yelling voice came from the other side. "You two idiots, could you please pay attention before you talk? The live broadcast signal has not been cut off yet. You two guys, please pay attention to what you are saying, and Kizaru, please turn off the live broadcast. Marine Admiral was injured. Is this something worth showing off? It doesn't matter if the person didn't stop me, the shame will be thrown to the world." Nani. Hearing Sengoku's yelling curses coming from the other side of the phone, the two of them showed stunned expressions almost at the same time. Then the model line of the live phone bug was destroyed by Kizaru's laser beam. For a while, the two just stayed on the ground and looked at each other. At the same time, Wanokuni, Ghost Island, buzz buzz. The terrifying Conqueror's Haki was currently erupting on the entire Onigashima Island, causing some weak pirates to roll their eyes and faint with foam at the mouth. In the room where Kaido is, there are only 3 big boards of Beast's pirates at this time: Flame Jin, Plague Quinn, Drought Jack. The 3 of them are facing Kaido's Conqueror's pressure here. Can any of you 3 tell me what the Blood Dragon's ability is? Quinn, haven't you seen the full version of the Devil Fruit illustrated book? Can't you recognize what this ability is? Find out the source of Lousy's abilities quickly. After Kaido roared for a while and started to pour himself wine, Quinn on the side said in a deep voice, "Boss, I have an idea. Do you think there is a possibility that that ability is the Zone Fish Fruit Phantom Beast species Blue Dragon form you once ate?" "Stop kidding, Quinn," Kaido said speechlessly. "Have you ever seen 2 identical devil fruits appear in the world at the same time? Not to mention you have seen them, you have never heard of them." "But, boss, his fruit is different from yours." Quinn looked weird and said, "For Vegapunk, as long as the color is different, it is different." "What?" Kaido's eyes widened and he looked at Quinn in disbelief. Jin and Jack also looked shocked. "Why?" Quinn sighed and said, "If 2 devil fruits were to appear in the world at the same time, this is the only possibility I can think of. Because when I was on the Mads team with Judge and Vegapunk, I once heard Vegapunk talk about the blood factor. That is, devil fruit research. Although Vegapunk didn't explain it too clearly, I think he may have succeeded. Isn't that what the semi-finished artificial devil fruit we use now is? Plus, boss, you have been arrested so many times by the world government. If Vegapunk uses your genes and bloodline research, coupled with his bloodline factor theory, he may actually be able to copy one fish fruit phantom beast species, it may not be." Quote, Kaido immediately fell silent after hearing this. After a long time, he finally spoke. Try your best to find the Blackbeard pirates for me. Lousy wants to capture the blood dragon to see what's going on. You may not understand it, but Lousy will understand it at a glance. The blood dragon is now about 100 meters long, which is exactly the state it was in when Lousy just ate the fish fruit phantom beast species. If my guess is correct, the guy probably just ate it not long ago. I want to see where he got this fruit. Quote, yes. The three big signboards nodded in agreement. Toto Land Sea Area. Wengwo Cake Island. At this time, there was a photo on the wall in the castle. It was the scene where Badgers transformed into a blood dragon and used the flame cloud to take off the ship. After Charlotte Linlin stared at the photo solemnly for a while, he turned to Katakori and said, Katakori, call Kaido's number. Yes, Katakori immediately did so. The call was quickly answered. Kaido's rich and joking voice sounded. Old woman, why are you thinking of contacting me at this time? But on the other side of the phone came Charlotte Linlin's yelling curse. Kaido, did you kill Guy when you saw the results of artificial devil fruit research? And also destroyed the punk hazard research base. Kaido's expression suddenly changed when he heard this. Whitebeard C. Aboard the Moby Dick. Whitebeard looked at a total of 16 team captains and said something in a deep voice that shocked everyone. Ace is Roger's child. He has been secretly arrested for half a year. I hope everyone will support it and subscribe more.